Hello, XP Wasters. The audio you are about to hear is due to poor microphone quality and not the result of Michael not checking that the microphones were working. Trust me, bro. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome back to Xpwaste, where we're going to Runefest.
Really? Doing this right now?
Let's go to Runefest, baby! Let's go! American tourists, am I right? Hello and welcome back to Xpwaste, where we just went to Runefest. I'm Michael.
And I'm tired as shit. Hi, I'm Oxie. I probably shouldn't have sworn in the first 30 seconds of the show. Maybe it's not the first 30 seconds. Maybe we do a really cool cold opener, because we saw a lot of cool stuff this weekend. If you're new around here, we just got back from our first ever Runefest. The first one that they have held in 5 or 6 years, I think. And we are currently in the car on the way back from Toronto Pearson Airport. If you're not new around here, Xpwaste meetups never fail to be the highlight of the year, and wow, has the standard been set. Runefest was absolutely incredible. Michael, how was your week?
Absolutely, 100% something I'll remember forever. Maybe the finer details. We'll get into all the finer details, but going to a Runefest has been something that's been. It's not like a bucket list thing, right? It's a bit morbid, but
we've been talking about it for so long now.
Well, it's something that I wanted to do for a long time, even before we had the show.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to RunFest since 2017, 2018, maybe even as far back as 2015. I don't remember, but it's been a while. And so to have experienced it in 2025, it was amazing. Zerys did an amazing job. It was so much fun to see everybody in the event. I don't feel like there was ever a dull moment.
So Sunday was a lot more low key, but not dull. You know, I thought of a couple points on the way back, because Michael and I did a lot of traveling. So should we get into what we actually did?
Yeah, you want to go chronological order?
We'll chronological order. So unfortunately, Michael had to put up with me traveling for the last couple of days, which normally is fine, but we went he got picked up in Detroit, he got dropped off to where I live by Chaos Cleric. He then got on my computer and probably marked a bunch of tiles in game somewhere that I'm going to have to find later. Then we drove back to my hometown, spent the night in my hometown. The next morning, took the bridge over to Canada, went all the way into Canada into Toronto, which, if you've ever gone over from the United States, it only took 2 hours and 40 minutes to get from the Blue Water Bridge to Toronto Pearson, which is absurd. It says we're only about 3 hours away from being home right now. I'll believe it when I see it, because it's currently 5 o'clock on a Monday. So I know Toronto is, the definition of just one more lane road. Don't worry, it'll fix it. Just one more lane road. So we'll see how that goes. But we flew on a wildly fast flight. I know Michael's never flown overseas before, but I've never flown for less than 8 hours to get across the Atlantic. We went from Toronto to Heathrow in 6 hours, on the money. We got there early.
Nonstop.
We flew in nonstop to Heathrow. We got there at 5:15. We took the tram back to the station, or back to the terminal. Hopped on the Elizabeth line. This is for all the UK boys out there listening. If you're in the States or outside of the UK, you don't have a reference point for this. Just know that it's a lot. So we landed at Heathrow at 5:15. By 7 a.m. Yeah, 5:15 in the morning. By about 7 a.m., we have taken the Elizabeth line all the way to Paddington Station. From Paddington, we called a cab to Abbey Road. There was one thing Michael wanted to see. And he did find out that like Abbey Road is not a monument; it is an intersection in London. It's not. Tell him about it. It's not.
It's just an intersection, but
Yeah.
it's like one of the most famous intersections. And it was really for my dad. If my dad had not brought it up, I would not have wanted to go see it. But he wanted to like live vicariously through me. And I told my dad, like, dude, you got to go there in person. At some point in your life, you got to get over there.
Now, I will say, when I say it's a road, I don't mean that it's not impressive, and I don't mean that there's no history. I mean that those big red buses, those black taxi cabs, any other car in the city, motorbikes, regular bikes, they don't care. They're just stepping through. They're constantly going, no matter what. Like, oh, they're taking another picture. That's cool. Like, Scape was joking when he said in the area the cars have magnets towards pedestrians, and they'll just run them over.
Well, we went at a pretty dull, like not a dull time.
We
but
were
like
there at about 7:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
it wasn't that busy.
So
I had the opportunity to like stand in the road and take a picture. I got to walk across it pretty slow and do the whole like
whole
legs.
Beatles walk
Yeah, the
beat,
Beatles
yeah.
walk thing. So luckily there wasn't like bumper to bumper traffic around that time.
I was there a couple of years ago. Maybe I'll find that picture and send it to Michael. He can put that one on screen. That was not only bumper to bumper traffic, but a shitload of tourists trying to do that at the exact same time. So like, the only experience I had had prior to the one on Friday was like, you get one chance to take a good picture. That's it. We were pretty spoiled for choice. After Abbey Road, because the studio was closed, the gift shop was closed. After Abbey Road, we walked to Milda Vale, and we took Milda Vale down to one of the stations, and then we transferred. We got off at Green Park, and from Green Park, I showed Michael Hogwarts, Buckingham Palace. Took some cool photos. There. Pretty sure Michael hawked a loogie inside the Victoria Fountain, not realizing what it was.
I didn't know.
And then we spent the time there, and like we got to see the funny little looking guards, and then the real guards with their like machine guns and shit.
Yeah.
And then I told Michael, I'm like, do you want to walk back to the train station, get off at Westminster, so you can see like Big Ben and the London Eye, or do you want to just like walk down the mall and do whatever? And he's like, no, we'll walk. So we started walking down the mall. We got sidetracked by all the marching at the barracks, so we kind of walked down by the barracks. And by the time we got to Trafalgar Square, which is really not that far away, Michael was like, dude, I'm fading fast. We have to sit down and get coffee. It was probably 9 a.m. at that point. And
At that point, I had almost been awake for 24 hours because I slept a little bit on the plane. People ask like, how was your plane ride? It was fast, yes, but it was like a 4 out of 10. I just felt squished the whole time, like I was up against the window seat.
you got
and,
this
like, I
huge guy
couldn't-
next to him too, which was like,
Yeah, I sit next to this guy, and I couldn't like stretch my legs out at all. So I have bad knees for being in my 30s, and I had like a sharp pain in my knee from not being able to move it. Like I only got it once during that entire 6-hour flight, and it was even hurting after I stretched it. So like the plane ride was bad. I slept for 2 hours because I took some Dramamine, but other than that, I had been awake for so long, and at this point, I was wearing boots. I thought like,
I thought
oh
you
yeah,
bring your boots.
no, I wore the boots all throughout London, and then at one point, once we got,
I thought you left the boots in my car.
was I wearing my
You didn't wear
other
your
shoes
walking
then?
shoes,
I
is what it was.
I was wearing my
These nice cheeky loafers.
it was like barefoot shoes. That's what it was. I was wearing my barefoot shoes.
Man broke out the Hey Dudes for London, England. What the hell?
But then once we got to like a certain part of the airport, I'm like, I've been walking for so long. I put on my walking shoes that actually have support, and it was so much better. But yeah, at that point, I was exhausted.
Because we've been stepping for a really long time, and Michael found out that like I don't care. Oh, you're sleepy. We got places to be. We have places to be. We have trains to catch. We have planes to catch. Instead of planes, trains, and automobiles, it was trains, tubes, and what did you say it was?
Trams?
It was trains, tubes, and like foot paint or something.
I don't know.
It was a lot of walking. We did a lot of walking in London. But we get to Trafalgar. We sat at some like was it? Like a Cafe Nero or something?
Cafe Nero, yeah.
Cafe Nero. Right in Trafalgar Square. I almost wanted to go to the National Gallery with Michael, but it didn't open until 10. And he's like, I would not make it through an art museum. I was like, damn, almost.
Oh, no. Not enjoy that. So we were going to get fish and chips at that point.
We were,
like,
the goal was to get fish and chips. So I
chips in London.
found a cafe. The Horse and Guardsman, it didn't look like it was a Green King pub. I'm like, oh baby, we're gaming. Brits in the Xpwaste chat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I've said this before. Green King, the brand, is the equivalent of like a Denny's or an Applebee's. Like, the food is fine, but it's also kind of mid and kind of expensive, right? It's not like bougie, it's just mid, you know? And I say that because we had a much better dining experience in the evening. We'll get there. So we do all this crazy nonsense. We get to this.
We get to the one place, and the kitchen wasn't open.
Yeah, kitchen didn't open until noon. So I'm like, son of a bitch.
10 o'clock.
So we went across the road to like the Silver Cross or whatever, which was Green King. But they were only serving a limited breakfast menu. We're like, we don't give a shit. Beans on toast it is.
Full English breakfast.
Full English breakfast.
No blood pudding.
No, thank God.
We missed out on the blood pudding, which I'm not mad about. The whole weekend. No blood pudding.
It was pretty solid.
Is it black pudding? It's called blood pudding. It's black pudding.
Whatever it was. I've had it before, and I think it sucks. I don't know if that's culturally offensive to the Oybrovs, but let
you
me
guys
tell
like
you,
it? It's your thing. I'm just not into it.
I want you guys to do me a special favor, right? Because we're talking about British cuisine. I don't want to do this to him because I had a great weekend with him. Can like one of you just at Chaos Cleric and ask him what he thinks about beans on toast? It's like I just need one person to do it. Not everybody. Just need one person at Chaos Cleric in the Xpwaste chat. Ask him what he thinks of beans on toast.
I would say beans on toast, not the worst thing.
That's why I told
beans
you.
on anything, really.
Ask Chaos Cleric. But
so we did a full English breakfast and flat beer. Breakfast beer? That was the weirdest thing.
It wasn't supposed to be breakfast beer. So if you've never been to the UK, English beer is not carbonated. Yeah. So it tastes like a flat beer that's just been sitting out. This is that Toronto traffic I told you about.
Okay, well.
That we could just be like stuck here and who knows. But we're on the 401 heading west, and every single lane is blocked off. Oh damn, we gotta get in the carpool lane.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
the whole.
Yeah. Anyways, we had the full English breakfast. I changed my clothes.
Yeah, full on.
And it's been a long day already.
Beer.
Oh yeah, the beer. I don't know.
It was good. It was kind of a weird experience. All beer apparently that we've ever had has been carbonated, which is okay. I didn't know it was carbonated, but yeah, it just when you drink it, it has the taste of beer, but it's like it had been sitting out all night, which is fine. It was good. Most of the beer that we drank over the entire weekend was flat. It wasn't carbonated.
Yeah.
Anytime we had a carbonated beer, it was like an American beer. It was like Dos Equis or something.
So nice. I mean, Dos Equis isn't an American.
It's not
beer,
American beer, but it is
I
carbonated.
know some people had Blue Moons.
Corona.
I had a couple Coronas at the casino. We had a couple Madris, which were pretty good.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead of ourselves. So we changed whatever. It's about noon. We head up to Euston Station,
which is not spelled with an H.
No, it's not. It's Euston, not Houston.
EUAS something. It's like
EUSTON. Euston Station.
Euston.
So we go to Euston and we buy these train tickets because where I'm from, we have one train. We have the Amtrak that runs from Port Huron to Chicago. It leaves at about 6 o'clock in the morning from Port Huron, and it gets to Chicago at about 2 p.m. local time, 2 p.m. local time. And then it leaves Chicago at about 6 p.m. local time and arrives in Port Huron at about 11:30 at night. That is the train for the day.
Just come round and back.
That's it. It's the one train. So we were a little freaked out that dude, we could be kind of fucked. I think it was something like 118 trains left from Euston Station to Birmingham between the hours of noon and 6 p.m. So I gotta give it to y'all. Y'all do the transport thing. Sorry, Xpwaste. I had to break the law. Hopefully there's no coppers.
Cut that out.
Nah, leave it in. Leave it all in. So we board the train. As we go to buy plane tickets, thank God I talked to him at Runefest. Train tickets, right? We go to buy train tickets, and I'm a stressed out traveler. I'm not the kind of guy who's like, you know what, we'll figure it out. I will have that mentality if everything goes wrong, but until everything has gone wrong, we have a structure and we have to follow it. I'm a very rigid and efficient traveler. So I don't have the tickets in my hand.
He's like tip-tapping on the screen.
Tip-tapping on the screen, trying to figure it out. Somebody fucking comes up to us and is like, Michael and Oxie from Xpwaste? I feel like I didn't even look over. I was like, what? And it was just like, it was in the zone of like trying to get the right train tickets, because what's peak time? What's off-peak time? Single admission? Party admission? Fucking, I don't know what it is. Why is one so expensive and the other's the same price? I don't know. And he's just like, yeah, big fan of the show. And I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? Cool. Anyways, what ticket do you have? And he's like, oh, my wife bought the ticket. I'm like, cool. Anyways, and then he walked away. Thankfully, I ate too late. We did run into him at Runefest again.
I had to be the social one. Shout out to I ate too late for coming to us. The first person.
I was stressed as shit in that station.
You were,
because we didn't know where we were going, and then we ended up on the Northwest line, which was just slow.
It was a slow one. It had like a million stops getting up to Birmingham.
But we did eventually make it to Birmingham. We took an old man nap, and then
so we got to the hotel. That's what your old man nap?
Yeah, the old man nap.
We got to the hotel. Did we get did the train go straight to the airport?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It was straight to the airport, and then we took a tram over to our hotel.
We walked to the hotel because we didn't find the tram. Because Michael said, isn't there a tram that gets there? I said, probably, but I don't know where it is. And besides, walking never killed anyone.
Oh, you did say that,
and
didn't
he
you?
Said,
and I said,
I'm pretty sure walking has. And I said, well, try not to think about it for the next 0.6 miles.
I was like, I love your positive attitude.
I did. It's not positivity, it's necessity. We have to get where we need to go.
That nap, though, was rejuvenating. It was like 2.5 hours.
It was the most sleep I had gotten. It was about 2.5 hours. We slept from about 3 to probably 5:30. It was the most sleep I had gotten from when I woke up at about 7:30 in the morning on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
And because I had gone on half an hour from 7:30 a.m. Thursday to about 3 p.m. Friday the whole time. Because I don't sleep very well in tight spaces like planes. But
the beds, though, I initially thought the beds in the hotel were going to be absolutely terrible, because initially you get on it, you lay down, it feels like plywood.
They were pretty stiff.
It's very stiff, and I'm like, wait, okay, is this the real thing? Can I ask for a foam topper? Do I need to flip the mattress? Is there like a soft side and a firm side? Nope, just straight up, no foam toppers. That's it. And I tried to go down to the desk and ask for an extra duvet. They're like, yeah, I'll bring one up to your room. I never got one. That's fine. But pleasantly surprised. The 3 nights that we slept there may have just been overexhaustion, but I slept pretty well on that plywood plank.
First 2 nights I slept like a baby. First night I slept like a tired baby. Second night I slept like a pretty tired and pretty drunk baby. Third night I slept like shit. I was so worried about waking up to make it to the airport and the train station on time that I woke up like every hour. That's neither here nor there.
So after we woke up, took a shower. Well, I took a shower before I went to bed, actually. Took a shower from the full-on travel day, and then laid down to go to bed, took a nap, and then we got up and had dinner at the hotel with Chaos Cleric.
It was the beginning of the assembly.
Yeah.
And it kind of kicked off an absolutely fantastic night.
Yeah, because we had fish and chips, which were way too expensive. 21 pounds.
Hotel dinner.
Yeah, it was a fancy hotel dinner. But the fish, it was not a small portion. It was pretty good. but it's literally just fish and chips, which you can get at a pub for like 10 pounds probably.
They didn't give us the piece of bread that normally comes with it,
Oh,
which I was
really?
kind of disappointed with.
Yeah, they give us some peas. You love peas.
Do you love
You
peas?
didn't even talk about the peas.
Do you love peas?
The hotel dinner was good. We had Chaos Cleric, Robert, and then Toddy showed up.
I was gonna say, yeah, but it got even better because during the dinner, one of our buddies, Toddy, he captained one of the bingo teams in the fall. Mudda
Shout out to Mudda Dogs.
Toddy showed up because he was visiting a couple of friends that he had, and then later, the MVP, Mr. Skate Caution himself, showed up as well. He got mad on us.
He got mad.
He's not like actually mad.
He called us out.
He's like, oh, I was expecting to hear my name, and I didn't hear it once. I'm like, didn't we talk about you in the episode prior? He's like, that's not important.
So, shout out to Scape. We have known Scape since the year 2020. You guys have been listening to the show.
He's been on the show a couple of times.
He's been on the show.
The older episodes, yeah.
We talk about him all the time. He's like the godfather, founder of TNL, our clan. So I felt like, it goes without saying that we are going to be meeting Scape, but I guess it doesn't, We got to meet Scape in person.
That was
very exciting.
Big. It was, because like that's, and a lot of it, like, because later that evening, right? So we eat dinner. We'll keep on talking.
Yeah, we'll keep stepping.
Later that evening, we had a little Discord of like who is all going to Runefest, right? And they had laid out a plan that like we will go to this bar called the Spread Eagle. Not kidding, Spread Eagle Weatherspoons. Now, the UK boys listening, you guys know what Weatherspoons is. For the American boys, or anyone outside of, particularly the Americans with this one, we were told that Weatherspoons is a total dive. They're like, brace yourself, we're going to downtown Birmingham at a Weatherspoons. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough in there.
Yeah, they did not talk this place up at all.
They didn't talk this place up, and like, you know what? I love a good local dive. Let's go check it out.
What were you expecting though?
So I was expecting a dive like in the United States.
Yeah.
Where it's dimly lit, it's loud as shit, it smells bad. The only people that are in there are relatively local and not happy that you're there. The food sucks ass and the beer is no better
really
and no
bar,
cheaper.
Like a really angry bouncer at the front. Like passive aggressively checks your
not even
your
like
ID.
no, see I'm thinking like a shitty like tavern pub thing in the US, right? It's like it's not very welcoming. We walked in, this place was well lit, the music was at the perfect volume, the bathrooms were clean, our server was picking up our trash. What?
They had a server.
They had a server. You could apparently order shit on the app and they'll just deliver it right to your table. It was remarkable. So we're there.
Were cheap.
Oh my God! So granted, we were drinking Ruddles, which is the equivalent of like Natter Days, like Natty Lights in the U.S., like cracking some Keystones or whatever. But they were £1.79, which is like $2 a pint in
That's
USD.
unheard of.
It's crazy. So the drinks just kept coming that night. And then we met up. So at that place, we met up with Gin Junkie, Doom Bar, and Lorley. And that, like, throughout that evening, right? Because we were talking about knowing Escape for a long time, and knowing Chaos for a long time, and Toddy for a long time. It really put into perspective how long folks have been around, right? Because, like,
you know what rank Doom Bar has in the clan right now?
Is he?
He's an Inferno Cape.
Yeah.
He just hit his 3 years in the clan.
Yeah, people have been around forever. And you're just like, oh, yeah, we just assume you guys are around, without really thinking all these years later that, like, damn, you guys have been around for a long goddamn time,
Yep.
And it was great. We had a fantastic night with them. We met Ron Plays Games. That was fun.
I'd never heard of him before. But apparently
Scape knew him. I'm sure he
was fangirl.
Yeah, Scape fangirl. There were a lot of people this weekend. But we met Ron and we met some other people like Kodai and a couple other tobbers like Lunar, people like that.
They brought us British snacks.
Yes, not them. Gin Junkie,
Gin Junkie, Doom Bar, Lorelei. They brought us British snacks. So they had like biscuits, which were cookies or crackers. They had a bunch of
Jaffa
like
cakes,
a moon pie thing.
They were for the Brits out there. We had Jaffa cakes, we had tea biscuits, Gin Junkie found me the quote-unquote UK ripoff brand of Prince crackers, and I was in my glory. And then, God, I can't remember the name.
Like a weird, like a
they were called like
name.
Tostakis or something, tacky sticks, something like that.
Oh, the Talkie sticks?
Yeah, they looked like English Cheetos, but just without the cheese on them. And
it's like charred pretzels.
It tasted like how burnt pumpkin seeds taste.
Oh yeah,
but it was shaped like a Cheeto.
It was interesting. I won't say it was bad because if you eat that enough, it is an acquired taste. Yeah, maybe like, you eat it with some like cheese to offset the bitterness and the burnt taste. But like, if you grew up eating those, it's going to be normal.
It was acquired for me in the way of like, I like to eat when I drink, and I need something to do with my hands. So, like, give me a bag of these burnt little sticks of shit, and I'll eat them while I drink. So, and then we ordered, again, food, a little bit of food to the table. A couple of wings, a couple of these, like, cheese stick things. So the dining experience in the evening was much better and a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And because it was so, like, painlessly cheap, you just walk up there with a $5 and you buy 3 people beers, right?
Yeah,
like, it wasn't like you had to go around and like, oh, I'll take this round, I'll take this round. It's just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Who gives a shit? Like, I have cash in my pocket. They're taking cash. We'll take card. We don't care. We'll order from the app. It was such a good time together that night. There was something else going on. There was like a Runescape, not like an unofficial one, at a Weatherspoons in downtown Birmingham. And initially I was like, that could be interesting to go to. But Chaos brought up a good point. He's like, the next 2 days are going to be crazy. So it's probably better to hang out here. Like, when you put it like that, I'll probably just be an anxious mess.
Yeah.
So
I think we got at that place at like 9, but didn't leave until almost 2.
Oh my God, it was great.
It was amazing.
That was such a fantastic evening. I love, like, don't get me wrong, RuneFest, it was so fantastic. It was such a good time. I love just hanging out with clan members. Whenever that opportunity arises, all 3 times it's happened, right? Like, just being able to like bounce back and forth in conversation, whether it's real life stuff or whether it's, you know, in-game stuff or what have you, like, especially being in the UK, constantly talking about the differences between, like,
so many contrasting conversations. Like,
oh God, it was great.
It's like this in America. Oh, it's like this in the UK.
It was fantastic. Michael was trying to speed run getting the shit kicked out of him, especially once Scape showed up.
Oh, improv.
Once Scape showed up, Michael adopted like an intentionally bad English accent.
You can't stop me.
I know I can't stop you, but it wasn't just to Scape. He'd be like, "Oh, bruv, good to see you," and Scape would, Scape would say cheers and do whatever. But then we'd like be at the restaurant, right? We're at this nice hotel bar. Girl walks up to us. "What would you like to order?" Michael goes, "I'll have the fish and chips when in Rome." I'm like, "Fish and chips in it." We get to the bar and he's like, "What you got on the pints?" I'm like, "Michael, I'm gonna kill you. Like, if these people don't, I'm gonna kill you." And it got to a point where like Scape got out of the car. We got out of the taxi home. And he said, "Cheers, bro," and he got out. And I almost turned to him and I was like, "What is it with the fake accents?" I'm like, "Oh wait, no, Scape actually lives here." I'm like, that's normal for him.
That's real.
That first night was great. Not to say the other nights weren't great, because they were, but like, it was fantastic. The first night really felt like the unofficial Xpwaste Europe.
Yeah.
Because the next 2 days were like madness all over the place. Like, the group was not all together until the summit the next day. Because there was so much to do at RuneFest. Which, like, yeah.
Oh, Weatherspoons was great. I would go back anytime I'm in the UK. And if you're from the area and you're like, Weatherspoons is a dive, like, come to America and actually experience what a true dive bar is, because it's a different type of experience. I don't know, like, bars in America are just built different, and then you gotta like pay out the ass for beer and drinks. It's, I don't know.
There's also the tipping thing, which I got bitched at. When we ordered breakfast in the morning, it was
going back to London.
Going back to London. This is early in the morning. It was like we got 2 beers, 2 plates of breakfast. It was like 35 pounds, which is still a lot of money. And I just looked at it and I thought, all right, well, 35 is 3.5 times 2. That's $7. Yeah, I'll put a $7 tip on, whatever it is. They threw the £7 tip on. And Michael goes, they don't tip here. I'm like, I know, that's what VAT is. She's like, yeah, it's weird to tip here. I said, yeah, but it's it's the cultural thing that I do. That night, everybody who lived there was like, you tipped £7? I'm like, what? It's 20%. Like, you tipped 20%? I'm like,
I got a lecture from Scape because he called me a few days before I left. And we were talking about what we're going to do, all the things. And he was giving me like UK, like, this is your first time in the UK, this is what you have to know. And he made it a point to say, do not tip. It's going to be cringe. It's going to be weird. I know you tip in the US because that's how you guys do it here. But in the UK, they pay their people a living wage. And tipping really is, you had exceptional service. It's not like something that's super just like expected. So it was grilled into me, do not tip.
well, the girl who was working at the Silver Cross probably thought we were either rich as shit or really into her, but we were truly just Americans.
Yeah. Well, they probably get that though.
I mean, I'm sure they do, being, again, right off Trafalgar. It's a pretty popular tourist spot with the National Gallery and all that. But no, we
ripped into them for the tipping.
They did rip into me for the tipping. And then, funny enough, we left and we're in the cab home, and Scape's like, that is probably an opportunity where we should have tipped our waiter. I'm like, damn it, dude.
Yeah, because she was super nice.
She was fantastic. She
came
was
over multiple
constantly
times.
like, but it wasn't like the annoying American check-in. We were like, how's everything doing? Okay, bye. Because they just want you to leave, right?
Yeah.
She was like, because again, we had Jaffa cakes and Prince crackers and tea biscuits and just like these like other shitty Cheetos, and like we were eating a ton of food, and she was cleaning up our poor mess. And me and Chaos and Michael and Robert were like, whoa, you don't have to do any of that.
God,
like, whoa, that's so much work. Just no, people don't do that. Like, we would have been told, like, if you brought snacks into a dive bar like that served its own food, they probably would have been like, yeah, FDA says you can't bring that in here. So either eat it outside or put it outside, because you can't eat that in here. They didn't care. It was great. Weatherspoons was a 10 out of 10 experience.
Loved every minute of it.
Waking up the next day was not a 10 out of 10 experience.
What
That
time
was
did we wake up? Like 7?
early.
I think it was 7. So we went to bed at 2. Yeah, we did. Because I got 5 hours sleep. I remember it. We went to bed at 2. Woke up at 7. And this is after, like, we stayed up till 2 after only getting like 3 hours of sleep within the last 24 hours.
We got 5 hours and then initiated what may have been the longest day at a convention in my life.
Yep. Great. Woke up at 7, and I had booked us for hotel breakfast all 3 days that we were there, and I'm so glad we did, because there was nothing close. I think we would have had to like eat Subway breakfast or something in the building that the NEC, like in the NEC.
There wasn't Weatherspoons in the NEC.
Oh, that's true.
So
But we had
that
we
one
had
was way more expensive.
hotel breakfast, which every day they basically just had build your own full English breakfast, which was great. So you could like customize whatever you wanted, buffet style. They had the typical like cereal and waffles and cold cuts, which I didn't really get, but that's a thing.
That's a European
That's a
favorite.
thing.
Of mine. I love a cold
awesome.
cut of breakfast.
They had fresh fruit, but yeah. So every day that we're there, I think you did too, but basically we have full English breakfast every single morning we were there. Which shout out to England for just putting on a great spread of random food that all just works. You know, you got the hash browns, you got the thick cut bacon, you got your sausage, beans, tomatoes, like roasted, not even roasted tomatoes, like baked tomatoes, and then you have toast. We got a mushroom at Silver's Cross.
They had mushrooms.
Oh, they did have mushrooms,
too, yeah.
but no black pudding, which was fun.
W. But that initiated the first and longest day we had. I think.
Yeah. Because what time did Runefest start?
RuneFest,
The doors opened
doors opened at 9.
at 9.
We've got throughout the next bit, we are going to put up some like pictures and videos and things.
B-roll, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like B-rolling to like show you our experience, because like we did not record like this at all at Runefest. I gotta say, it was so nice. It was so nice. We just got to experience it and spend time with people and enjoy the festival for everything that it was, without having to like be content creators about it the entire time. It was great. We waited in line. It was literally where we went in. It was the opposite side of the NEC, so we walked all the way there.
It was a long walk.
Yeah. Do you have any pictures of what you wore? Because I may have taken an OOTD, as you said.
I don't think I had OOTD for that day, but I just wore. What did I wear? I don't remember. You were in your Duke shirt.
Look at this couple of gals. I wore.
Yeah.
Well, I walked out in the morning because we had conjoining rooms. So I walked into Scape and Michael's room with my Duke shirt mostly open, but a couple buttons at the bottom were closed. Necklaces on, and I was like, "Is this acceptable?" And they both went, "Yeah." I said, "Do I look like a drunk uncle at a barbecue? And is that acceptable?" They said, "Yeah. Who cares? It's fine." And it was great. I don't have the picture with him because obviously he didn't send it. But some other guy was wearing the same shirt. He stopped me and we took a picture together. Because the Fox's merch, you wore the Gothic Express shirt. That's what you did.
Oh, the Gothic Express shirt.
The Fox's merch was off the chain. I'm sure they've heard it enough already, but just in case if they haven't, Fox's, your shit was everywhere. Streamers are wearing it. Podcasters were wearing it. The most handsome ones they were wearing.
Some of the best RuneScape merch that you can get online.
Oh my god, it's the best. Like the amount of people who had Desert Treasure 2, or the button-ups, or the like Rave Zulra, or the Versic Ventura long sleeve shirts, the Zuck long sleeve shirts. Like it was, oh my god, the amount of Fox's gear was great. And I actually met someone at the casino way later in the evening who had the same Araxor pullover hoodie as I did. And he was telling me that like he hangs out in that Discord that they kind of spend a lot of time in. And I guess they were just in disbelief at how many people were in their stuff. But no, it's the best RuneScape merch, because people even commented like, "Oh my god, I love your shirt." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, Fox is on Twitter. Go find it."
MitchyFox.com, I think it is.
Maybe MitchyFox.com. Yeah,
MITCHICHIE or whatever.
Mitchy Fox is on Twitter. Holy shit, dude! The merch is fantastic. But we waited. We got to the NEC. We all kind of had a big group together. The first person we actually saw was Hannah. It was the first person
She walked past and showed us she was wearing.
She was wearing the Xpwaste. Both days she wore the Xpwaste, which was great. We got in. They gave us our wristband. We don't have the backpack on us. We'll probably show you here in a second. Maybe we'll put a picture up on screen. That'd be a little bit easier. But you do have the backpack on you. We walked in and we were told we were getting bags. I thought we were going to get like a shitty string bag. We got this really nice backpack. Yeah. This is that's not screen printed. That's like embroidered, like stitched into the shit. Like, it's really good quality.
There's one
on the shoulder. It came with a notebook for autographs. It came with a pamphlet. It came with these trading cards and this build your own wise old man thing.
I actually have a picture of all that. So that's on screen right now.
Yeah, that's on screen right now. Oh my god, and it's like, it was good stuff too, which we were shocked at. So we carried these backpacks around all day. The only part for me that was weird, I don't know how you felt about this, when we walked in, every single JMod, RS3, old school, IT, human resources, Jagex launcher creators, back-end people, every single JMod was lined up in like a hype tunnel, clapping for everyone that walked in. I thought that was a little strange.
I didn't mind it.
That was probably the only part of the weekend that I'm like, okay, I'm cringing a little bit at this.
It didn't last very long.
It didn't last very long, and I think it was counteracted by the fact that, like, A, these people that you've seen in modcasts for years are right in front of you.
There was definitely a moment of like, I recognize you.
They had
right here. Oh wow!
They had a live band playing Harmony,
which was so cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Walking into RuneFest with the live quartet playing Harmony was a really nice touch.
I think I recorded walking in.
If
I
you
wanna
did,
say I
if
did.
Michael recorded it, we're gonna let you guys watch that now.
Thank you.
If he didn't record it, there wasn't a cutaway, and we're still in the episode. If there was, hope you guys enjoyed it though. Yeah, the beginning of the summit was like, it wasn't what I expected. Not the summit, the festival. They pretty much walked us all into this fucking massive room. It was a whole convention hall with like thousands of seats and a big stage and all that. And like, if you guys have watched any of the videos, you probably know what happens, right? But like, for us, it was like half an hour of mingling, which was cool. It was cool. We were like seeing people walk in, we were seeing people we recognized. People were coming up to us. Like, we met Oxie Swerve, who I didn't find out until like Sunday afternoon was Quest Caper in the clan.
Shout out. Who's a mod, by the way?
Yeah, I was a Quest Caper. Been around for years. Spent a day and a half with them, and I was like, wait, what's your IGN? But no,
the GIM boys, the Krugs, I think.
Krug group? So the Krugs were the start of Oxie eating his own words. And I think you fuckers got together and did it on purpose. So in the last episode, I made a comment like, it's not like we are going to get recognized like Bodie or Jimmy or Settled or whoever. Nobody's going to fucking care, right? We had one person come up to us, technically two, because I had heard of I Ate Too Late in the Discord. The only other person that came up to us was Evil on Olive, who was there with his GIM team. Again, started talking to us like he knew who we were, and I was like, what's your Discord? And he's like, Evil on Olive. I'm like, oh shit, that's a longtime clan member. Hell yeah.
Because the thing about Discord is not everybody has
their
profile
face.
picture as their face, and not everybody turns their camera on. So there's like, of the 2,500 people in Discord, I've seen, like, I can count probably on one hand the amount of people who I have seen turn their camera on and could recognize them.
Yeah. So the Krugs, there's a GIM team group of fellas. They were the first ones that came up to us, and I guess I am a very recognizable person. I think I made a comment that like I'm dressed as a peacock because I had all the jewelry on. I had my big ass hat. I had the open Duke shirt or whatever.
You're wearing exactly what you wear on the show.
Pretty much, I was wearing exactly what I wore on the show. It was an open Hawaiian shirt.
I did too.
It was an open Hawaiian shirt, but I added a little bit of jewelry because you need to be a little slutty. And yeah, the Krugs were the first one to walk up to us.
It was cool because they had their usernames, and then they had the blue Iron Man helmet on their hoodies.
Yeah.
So shout out to y'all for being creative.
We saw them when we walked in. We kind of leaned over on this GIM team. This GIM team for sure.
Do that next time.
And then I ain't fucking doing that. But sure enough, they came up to us, and that was the start of getting stopped. Probably over the course of the whole weekend, maybe 20 times, which I was not expecting. Which again, shout out to you guys. It was an amazing feeling. But as the day went on, and the more people came up to us, Michael was like, "Told you, bitch." I'm like, dude, like this, in a way that it just didn't feel real. So many people were coming up to us and being like, "Oh my god, Oxie and Michael from Xpwaste." In my head, I'm like, "There's no fucking way. You guys know who we are." And like the amount of people who were like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm just a lurker. Like I'm not in the Discord. I just like to listen." I'm like, "Fuck me, man. Michael was right. You guys are great." I did not have a single bad interaction with anyone who walked up and introduced themselves from the show. All great conversations. And if you guys see us at Runefest 2026, don't hesitate to come up and say hello. Because there wasn't any weirdness to it. I'm an introverted guy who normally does not like to talk to strangers. But I think once that ice got broken by the Krugs, which I didn't even think was a very weird interaction to begin with, it felt like, and I was like, oh shit, Michael is right. Yeah, people do know us. Hi, how are you? My favorite interaction from the whole day of a fan walking up to us that I didn't previously know from the clan. This guy came up to me and he's like, excuse me, are you Oxie from the Xpwaste podcast? I said, I am actually, yes, nice to meet you. He's like, okay, I don't want to be whatever. I thought you were like way shorter. And I was like, yes! I got that joke's been 3 years in the making. I finally got somebody. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, gotcha. Surprise, I'm not actually 5'7".
What you are though?
I am 5'7", which it was great because I took the picture with him, and I was like, sorry, I need to keep the bit alive, and I kind of like crouched down next to him, and it was great, like, but it wasn't even just like, oh my god, everybody in the morning came up to us and then nobody talked to us for the rest of the day.
It was all day,
entire day, probably like once an hour, someone came up and said hello. I'm really in the casino at the bar. And I order my drinks, and this guy next to me is like, old school Runescape podcast? I'm like, Xpwaste. I'm not the old school Runescape podcast. He's like, no, I know it. I knew the voice. I love the show. Yeah. I'm like, no shit. So he and I talked for a little bit. We grabbed our drinks and went back to our tables or whatever. And then even the next day, new people were walking up to us. You know, it was great. We had traveling in our group. God, it was myself, Michael, Scape, Gin Junkie, Lorelei or Lord Lee? Lord Lee, Doombar, Chaos, Robert, which we never met him by his in-game name. Robert, and then Olkey, Quest Caper, and then Hadadbod was there, and then Alex was there as well. And then we did meet Luigi for like 2 minutes. And then we walked over with him to look at all the stuff on the second day.
It sounds like Tecton. It's like Talk 10 or something. He's a newer member of the Discord, but I've gone on a raid with him.
But we did. I saw him for 5 minutes, then he vanished.
Where'd you go, Luigi?
I don't know what happened, but yeah,
that was the main group walking.
That was the main group that we kind of like floated in between.
Because those are all the people in our Discord that we had for like the event. So anytime where there was like a panel or an event that we were going to, we're like in the Discord we're writing like, hey, we're in the front left, we save seats.
Yeah, the summit was a big one. We saved a bunch of seats. We had like a whole row for that. Like I don't know if we posted the picture in the Xpwaste chat, but like everyone in that row that we're sitting in is like all TNL. It was super cool. But the other thing about meeting people, which is like the other side of the coin, that I was also not really expecting in truth, every single one of our guests that we had remembered who we were. Every single one. And I think it initially started because Tanzu and Virtuoso came up to me. What? I was walking with Scape, and Jen and Dave came up, and they were like, Oxie, what's going on? I'm like, oh shit, hey fellas, Scape was in his glory. Scape was the biggest fangirl at the NEC. He loves RuneScape YouTube, and he unapologetically was like, I need to say hello. He had like a hit list of content creators. Like he wanted to say hello to everybody. And I think he said hello to damn near everybody. He was taking pictures with everybody. He made it in the MMORPG blog. He was in his glory. And when we had our little chat with Tanzu Virtuoso and we walked away, he's like, dude, that was crazy. I've watched every single one of their videos like 3 times over. I'm like, oh, I know. I know.
Big fan.
But like, it wasn't just them. It was Tanzu and Virtuoso. Potato knew who we were. Who else did we all go to? After Solo Mission won his Golden Gnomes, we came up to him towards the end of the night. And I think I said, I'm not here to fangirl. We're here to congratulate. Great job. And he's like, holy shit, Michael and Oxie, what's going on? And we talked to him. There was a big group of J-Mods standing in a corner by the LAN party. And Michael goes, oh, hey, it's Mod Rice. And I'm like, yeah, I see him, he's talking to his colleagues. And Michael goes, no, he's not. And he just fucking walked over. It just interrupted all. It was like Other and Arcane and Rice were all sitting there talking together. And Michael just walked right up, said hello, and I'm like, well, shit, I better go follow him. And Rice kind of turned and was like, hey, hey! Like, immediately remembered
that felt great.
But again, it was everybody. Hannah remembered who we were. We gave Hannah a big hug. We met Jepperite because we saw his face. And then another one of my friends, Cheese, was there. She's a bit of a smaller streamer. Was not expecting her to show up. She was the Cuthbert costume with the big cardboard head. I saw her walk across stage. I'm like, there's no fucking shot that that's her. And I had to run over to all the people in the cosplay thing and say hello. And everyone we ended up talking to was fantastic. I think
we signed books.
We did sign a couple people's books, which I thought was
that blew my mind.
Kind of silly and fun.
Yeah, you guys
we're at that same caliber of some people.
Cool.
I was flipping through pages another one we met was Messiah. Finally talked to him. We didn't end up at the after party because we're just tired and old. Only person I fangirled over, and I couldn't help it, was Josh Strifehaze.
Yeah.
He's the only one that everyone else playing it cool, oh, it's settled, oh, it's Bodie, oh, it's Will, mad respect for what they do. I'm not gonna wait in line to talk to anybody because I know that myself that would be exhausting.
Yeah. Right? I want to be one less person that they have to talk to.
And I do kind of have a point on that, but Josh walked right by me, and I was like, okay, I can't not say something.
Yeah.
And I chatted with him for a little bit, so fingers crossed we get him on the show at some point, because he's a great dude. But that was a great interaction.
I think because we were talking, and he was agreeing with us that the podcast, we need a Golden Gnome podcast category.
Yeah.
Just for the recognition portion of you guys are content creators, but not different.
Yeah, but not the recognition of Xpwaste, the recognition of
the category of them.
Right, the recognition of the medium of podcasting, because it's not just us. It's Sebe, it's Boonbay, it's Gothic's Rest, it is the Lumbridge Lounge, it is the Wilderness podcast, it's the old school podcast with Rice Cup and Racy. We also met Rice Cup.
That's so random.
We didn't introduce ourselves to him, I don't think. We were all kind of...
I didn't know it was him.
Yeah, we didn't know it was him. We saw Verf. There are so many other podcasts that are around, right? That recognition for the category might inspire people to make more podcasts for you guys to listen to.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, we're pretty awesome. But we've said it once, we'll say it again. We know we'll lose to Sebe. We don't care. It's about the mission. The mission is start the Golden Gnome for podcasting. So you guys out there advocate like crazy. Go into all your other Discords, start a movement, podcast category for the Golden Gnomes in 2026, right? We want to recognize all the people who do this stuff, recognize the medium, because podcasts are especially for this community, holy shit, we are good second monitor content.
Yeah.
Not us, necessarily. I mean, we're pretty great. But, podcasts as a whole, you don't have to look over and pay attention. It's not a guide. You don't have to, pause and rewind. We're talking in your ear while you're playing RuneScape, probably right now, Or you're driving. There was a lot of people came up to us and were like, yeah, I have a 6-hour commute twice a week. I love listening to your guys' show. We signed, God, what was her? I don't remember her name. And I think I remember her name. I don't know if I'm going to say it because I don't know if she wants that said out loud. But her and another guy, possibly her partner, she had us sign her Dragon Med helmet.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Med helmet.
The Dragon Med helmet signature is super cool.
I'm looking on the helmet and it's Mod Ash, Mod Kieran, Bodie.
Yeah, it's
all these famous content creators and nabots that we're on.
And our signatures each got a little panel on the helmet. This doesn't feel. Not that it doesn't feel appropriate, but it seems like one of these things is not like the other. So, because we talked about it this morning, I'm pretty sure we remember their names. They did not give us screen names though. I don't know if they want it said out loud, but we know who you guys are because you stopped us on the way out of the NEC on the first night. Which, as far as waiting in line for people, right, that you mentioned earlier, even if I don't watch your content, I've maybe watched 20 minutes of Bodhi streams. I've maybe watched one Bodhi video in my life, right? I wouldn't call myself like a huge Bodhi fan. Not because I dislike him, I just haven't watched the content. The fact that so many of those like super content creators, right, in the old school space, not only did they dedicate time in a couple different ways, like Soup and Jimmy and Lincoln Rarg and all these other folks had like dedicated like lines at one point to me. Jimmy's line was an hour and a half long. Scape waited in to talk to him. It was
like
crazy.
for the meet and greet.
Yeah, the meet and greet. And then eventually, when Jimmy's time was up, he just walked over and kept meeting people in a different line. Right? The amount of creators who, not only on Sunday, which was the more social day, but like on Saturday, chose to hang out and talk to the community, just for the simple reason like people were coming up and getting autographs. Yeah. Everybody was there. Mamo was there. MMORPG was there. Z Cookies was there. C Engineer was there. All these people were hanging out, just interacting with fans. And I probably don't watch 90% of RuneScape content at this point. It is such mad respect to those people who could go to the casino early and spend time with their friends that they've known for years. That is, especially in my experience, is not that it's bad, but it's way more comfortable to spend time with someone who you've known for 5, 6, 7, 8 years at a bar together than it is to be, talking to strangers once every 5 minutes,
Yeah.
Which isn't bad, right? Again, happened to Michael and I didn't have any negative interactions, but the amount of respect to every one of those like super creators who kind of hung out between OSRS and RS3, because I don't know who the RS guy is, but the RS3 players loved it. And same thing with that one bunny girl who wore the face mask and shit.
Yeah, she's like a PNG streamer.
Bunny Bob and Crystal and all these other RS3 folks. I didn't know who any of them were. They all hung out. And they talked to people, and we all... It's such a, I don't want to say strange experience, but like everybody went to the Weatherspoons at the NEC afterwards.
Yeah.
And when I say everybody, I mean like we walked in, we saw content creators that we knew, we saw fans we knew, the J mods were there. I literally stopped Mod Ed as we were walking through because we kind of passed each other, and I said, dude, I've been waiting for Lord of Vampirium for 5 years, thank you so much. And then we talked to each other again on the way out because they couldn't find a table and they had to eat at like the little plaza in the actual thing itself for Weatherspoons. But like, it's a wild experience because truly none of these creators, like nobody was pretentious, nobody was shitty. Like people were tired. I'll tell you that. People were tired. Like I think we met Mudkip, and I think Mudkip had a long day. Everybody did. Doors opened at 9. They did not wrap up the Golden Gnomes until like 8:40 or something. Like it was a long day. And then they had the after party afterwards. But yeah, I just wanted to say like just huge respect to all those content creators, regardless of size or popularity or whatever platform you're on, sticking around and talking to people and just seeing like huge lines of people to come talk to you, and nobody ever said like, oh my god, Soup and Skill Specs and Settled and Framed are all so shitty. Not a single person said that, because a couple of our friends met all these people, right? Like every interaction we heard about was positive, and that's again just mad respect to all the creators who hung out and did that. What do you think of the after party?
Oh, there's a lot of standing.
Not for you.
I mean, I had fun.
You got in the goddamn line dance. You're running around the arena.
It was a follow train. Like, okay, so initially they were just bumping like old school music, old school RuneScape.
They really needed to change the vibe quicker than they did.
It was like for about 30 to 45 minutes.
The first like hour, it was like the old school EDM stuff.
Which was okay.
And then the guy who played guitar in the morning was like, yeah, I'm getting on stage.
That was I think that's when I got hyped.
It started to turn at that point, and then once Cole got off stage, they put like real music on.
Yep.
And people were much more keen to dance to it.
Yeah. But again, it was just a bunch of dudes standing around for a while. Because we were joking. We're like, okay, if you have the average player, the average age of the player now is in their 30s, and it's a majority male audience, what are you going to do? But just like stand around. And that happened. But yeah, it was fun.
I will say 2 things. Number one, I don't know how this is going to come off. Way more women than we thought. Like, I don't want to say it was 50-50, but it was way
Probably
closer
60-40.
to 60-40 sounds about accurate, men and women. It was
Maybe 70-30, but it was a lot.
There was a lot of gender diversity, and from what I could tell as a member of the Alphabet Mafia myself, it was pretty gay too. It was at least a little gay from everybody. So if you're ever if you're not a dude in your early 30s, late 20s who wants to go hang out, if you are outside of that range at all, you're welcome to Runefest. I got to tell you, it was a great experience to see the spread of everybody there. And also, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big dancer, and we kind of ended up getting coaxed on the dance floor way deeper in than we thought. We made some new friends from, I think, an old school social clan or whatever. We kind of got dragged out on the dance floor further than we thought we would, which was fun. It was a good time to hang out and dance. But at one point, Gin Junkie and I were like, dude, we're tired, man. We got to just grab Michael and get out of here.
I was in my prime.
Michael, dude, he was having a great time. He threw the backpack off and he started breaking it down. Michael was unapologetically with it. I will say, other than the J-Mod clapping and probably the first hour of the after party, it was not cringe.
No, not at all.
There was not a cringy bit about Runefest that I was like, oh, that's cliche and weird, or oh, people are being really weird about that.
It was not.
It was fantastic. It's not like the South Park depiction of a nerd, where everyone's allergic to soap and deodorant, and everyone was super awkward. The 2 women that were there were being everyone was creeping on them. It was, I'm going to use the term normal in a nice way, but if you're worried that Runefest was going to be cringy and stupid, it really wasn't. It was quote unquote normal, and it was so fun. Will 100% go again next year, 100%. Because I had a blast with it. Now, there was no, again, being a man in my late 20s with a group of other men in their late 20s, early 30s, going to a dance party when pints were 8 pounds apiece. They didn't feel that heavy though. That we made that joke a lot this weekend. It just part of it wasn't it, but I think once they broke out the real music and people started dancing, and then again, Josh, Strife, Hayes, and Cole got on stage and were taking pictures and things like that. Once people were like, oh yeah, no, this is fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I think, again, part of what made it fun is the creators who stuck around, whether or not they were on the dance floor or just in the other area socializing. The other area was so well decorated, by the way. We could gush about the shit forever, dude.
Yeah, so before we move on to the casino portion, so it, throughout the day there was a bunch of not panels, but it was different segments that they were doing. So they had a lore thing talking about, I can't remember exactly. We went through it last week. The last episode we went through the entire schedule. The highlight of that whole day was the summit. The highlight of all of the different events that they had on stage was the summit for probably everyone. But in between, when you weren't sitting in the auditorium, you're walking around. They had the skill challenges,
which were fun.
So fun.
It was fun.
So the first one that pretty much everybody experienced was when you got your backpack. In your backpack was a tiny little four count deck of cards, and it was all random. So they had logs, they had ore, they had gems and fish
and runes.
So you had different categories, and there was 4 cards the ore set. So then once you've traded other players for your set of cards, you take it to the GE and you trade it in, and then you get your trading skill check. I was high on trades, man.
Michael got a taste of what life is like without the blue helm on. We lost him. We actually lost him for a while into fray because the GE was shoulder to shoulder. They made a replica Grand Exchange.
It's so cool.
They had the J-Mods working it. We talked to Mod Kirby there, the guy from a couple summits ago, who was pretty funny.
I was high on trades though. So
oh my god, it was great.
Before we even got to the GE, I had a full set of ore, and I didn't want it to be over, because before we even got into that portion, like after the first welcome to Runefest event that they did, there was a bunch of trading going on, and people were running up to groups, and they're like, "Do you guys have ore? Do you have crystals? What do you have? Gems?" And I had gotten a full set of ore. I had all 4 of them. I was fine, but I was like, this can't end this quickly. So I made it a goal for myself to take a full set of ore and turn it into a full set of fish. And I got it. I did it. But along the way, I was helping other people complete their sets, because I think at one point I had 3 of the fish that I needed and a gem. And some guy comes up, he's like, "I'm looking for sharks. It's going to complete my set." So I gave him my shark, and he gave me a log. And so this other person needed this thing that I needed. So I was just trading, helping other people get their sets, and other people were like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "I need this." So a great icebreaker, I think, to the social aspect of the Runefest. So, because otherwise, what is the point in talking to other players? There really isn't. You could have just stayed in your group or stayed as a solo.
Yeah, I mean, not
a solo player.
That was a really good icebreaker, because I think once we got through the GE icebreaker, because I swear to God, it was shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah,
it was shoulder to shoulder. There were lines going in different directions of people. Honest to God, people were holding up their phones.
Yes.
Looking for lobsters,
selling lobsters. Yes,
yeah, selling lobsters.
It was so funny.
I did scam one guy. I had two mithrils, and I gave him a mithril for a runite because I got the ores. So I scammed it. I got mithril for runite, and then ended up trading those off for logs at one point.
That's funny.
God, it was fun, because then at that point you're all here for the same thing.
Yeah.
At that point, we all know we're here for the same thing. So it wasn't hard to talk to people about Runefest, because you kind of know when someone's going to Runefest, right? You wake up, you're at hotel breakfast, the dude walks downstairs with his party, he's got a Tezcal Zuck shirt on, he's going to Runefest. You get on the tram and somebody has the dragon backpack, they're going to Runefest, right? You can just tell, and it was a really great, you are right, that was a great way to break the ice.
Yep.
But,
and then the rest of the skill checks were you had to get in a line and do some sort of activity, which turns out the bank heist, which was the thieving chip, wasn't it?
Yeah, the thieving chip.
It turned out to be the hardest one to do, because they had a long line.
Because it took a long time.
But it only let one group go at a time.
Yeah, I think it took a long time. They had a cabbage launching one for the range token.
Yep.
It took 30 seconds.
It was so quick. You didn't even have to get into the box.
They had the vaping one, the Culinary-Romancer one.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of that one.
So he says vaping, but literally they had flavored vapor, water vapor, and you had to suck the water vapor through a straw and try and decipher what taste it was. And if you got the taste, it was identifying ingredients for whatever they were cooking.
Yeah.
And so you had to identify the ingredients, and if you got all 3 ingredients in under 2 minutes, then you got your skill chip. Which for us it took 50 seconds. I think we were fast.
No, it took a minute and a half.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because the last one was the weird apple pie thing.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was not my favorite.
It was a cucumber something and then apple pie, and I'm the only one I could really identify was a cucumber. I thought the second one was cotton candy, but maybe it was raspberry or something.
Yeah, I think it was raspberry, but Yeah, that one was whack. And then we waited in line for the cook's assistant farming one where you had to get all the eggs.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it was real hay. And I was in line and I spoke with one of the J-mods and I was like, hey, so let's just say I'm allergic as shit to hay. Can I just like have a skill chip? He's like, yeah. And then Michael was like, oh, you didn't bring your inhaler? I'm like, it's not the inhaler, it's the hives. Like I would have ruined my evening.
Yeah.
So instead I hopped into Discord and I talked to a couple of friends and showed them around while the boys were waiting in line.
And the idea with that one was they had a big like box and they dumped like fake eggs in the box and like hid them underneath the hay. And you had
Rifling through it.
you had to rifle through, and you had a time limit, and you had to collect enough eggs to like tip the scales. And if you could tip the scale, then you got your skill chip. So that one was fun. The next, what did we do that? So the only ones we didn't end up doing the first day was the bank heist one, and then the crafting one.
Yeah.
Because the crafting one, that line was insane. Everybody wanted to do it the first day.
It went super quick, and I didn't know you didn't get to keep them. I didn't want to do it because, like, I thought it was going to get crushed in my backpack. Yeah. But then it turns out I just gave it to them anyway because I crafted like shit, and they had just like a huge pile of lies on there.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a fun little quick, like 5-10 minute activity. And I think it would have also been good to socialize. Like, had we gone that first day and sat with a bunch of randos,
could have talked to people.
It would have been fun. Then the bank heist, we just straight up didn't get to do.
Yeah.
The queue for the bank heist was like an hour and a half. It was fucking ridiculous.
The crazy part though was like it was an hour and a half, but you never had just a straight hour and a half.
Sorry about that cut. My phone died. So
yeah, thankfully it didn't corrupt the video because that would have sucked.
Yeah.
It was like an hour and some change of yapping.
Yeah,
that it didn't cut off.
And I don't think the microphones are working either, which is unfortunate.
Here's to hoping they're working right now.
They should be.
They should be.
Yeah.
If
I see a green light over there, and I see a blue light right here.
Well, if they're not working, this is going to be a really quiet part of the episode. But that's fine. You know what? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out in post.
The first part is probably going to be heavily edited. I'm going to try my hardest to make just the phone audio sound good, but I digress. Where I left off with that train of thought was bank heist took an hour and a half. Basically, the line was long as shit, and you never really had just like an unscheduled hour and a half. So in order to do the activity as it was intended, you would have to give up on doing something else.
You pretty much had to give up on doing two things because what happened was like every panel was about 45 minutes long. Every panel was about 45-ish minutes, and you would be finished with your panel, so you would want to go do the skill chip. So would every other 1,000 players who were watching that panel.
Right.
So they would all go over to the skill chip because the bank heist is so goddamn long. The bank heist line would be really, really, really long. And then you'd have to skip one thing, and then you pretty much would have to like commit to skipping a second thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when we got in on Sunday, we're like, all right, first thing we're doing, we're going to the bank heist.
Yeah.
It was already an hour-long line. We're like
full up.
Yeah, it's like I guess we're not doing that. Spoiler alert for how the bank heist ended. I don't remember the J-Mod's name, and I really wish I would have looked on the back of their shirt and figured out what the name was. But I think I was in line with like Olkey or something. And I was getting in line for the bank heist, and the line was again pretty much out the door. And the J-Mod that was there kind of cut us off and stood in front of us because like this is pretty much where the line ends. Like, dude, we are never going to get these skill chips. And he was like, God, sure would be unfortunate if somebody pickpocketed me during the thieving skill chip. And he turned around kind of like this, and he had the skill chips behind him. So we swiped a couple of the skill chips without actually having to do with a bank heist.
Yeah.
Which, like, I kind of wanted to do the bank heist, obviously, but I really did not want to wait in that line. And, like, if I have a complaint about Runefest, which I think is a complaint about just cons in general, you can't do everything, you know? But I think that's just the nature of a convention where, like, they need something to do. They need interesting things to fill the stages with. And unfortunately, those things are interesting, and I want to go see them more than I want to go do a 10-minute minigame, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but the sucky part about, like, that mentality of you can't do everything
is they had 8 skill chips, and then once you collected all 8, then you got the 9th skill chip, which everybody wanted the 9th one. So then you couldn't just
the
like
ninth one
give
was
it away.
cool. It was the
You
dragon.
couldn't just give it up. So yeah, it like going into the mentality of like I can't do everything. We got to do everything, I think. Oh yeah, look at that.
I got the little collector box thing, and I'm sure there's a better picture that we can. Oh damn, this got jostled the shit.
I'll
in
go
the
hold it
thing.
up. I'll go hold it up to the camera. Yeah, so we got to do everything. I feel like we got to do everything.
We absolutely did. I feel like again, we literally didn't do the bank heist, but we did everything else. Those are the skill chips. That was the little decoration box that came in. That'll probably be sitting behind me somewhere. I need to get a second shelf.
I was actually thinking about that, and if you're okay with it, I'll help you move. All you have to do is flip the shelf and the coat rack, and it's literally you're good to go.
No, I mean I have too much shit.
Oh,
Like I need a second shelf because I have too much shit.
that's true.
And then that coat rack really doesn't go anywhere else unless we move the cat tree, and the coat rack's also broken. It's a whole mess. My apartment is not a mess. It's kind of a mess, but my apartment is.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a
It
whole thing.
is. It's not done furniture wise, but that's not. It's neither here nor there. Which, by the way, I don't know if we've actually addressed it. We're in my house. The computer you see behind me with the Jagex launcher open. That's the computer I normally sit at. So you guys are watching from the other side this time. This is my
That's
couch and my
true.
table. You guys are propped up against the TV.
So like if you remember Oxie's setup, if you look at the back left of him, that's the you're sitting on the TV stand essentially.
Yeah, this
So.
is the chair for my computer, and then that's Blue. I don't know if you can see her though.
Come here, Blue.
What a woman! What a woman! So yeah, that like it's Tuesday morning because yesterday after the phone died, we were right about to stop at an en route to get coffee and get a little food. So we were going to take a break there anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Forced break.
we were going to force a break in there, and then the phone died. So yeah, but no,
Saturday's done.
Saturday's not done.
Oh, frick.
Because we didn't talk about the summit. I know you guys are all thinking it because the amount of people who DM'd me or the amount of people who were like, hey, I saw the summit and thought of you. We're just going to put it out there right now. Watch this video. You're going to watch this video for the announcement and you can visibly see the excitement. Watch it.
Now, that's a bish bash bosh from me. That's the Runefest Summit. Thank you from all of us. Enjoy the rest of your Runefest. But there is one more thing.
That was so hype.
Oh my God.
That was so hype.
Oh my God. I was so excited. I was I was so stoked for that particular announcement. I have been waiting for like 5 years for I keep calling it Lord of Vampirium because that's what it's called in RS3, but like Blood Moon Rises. And it was funny, they announced that at the very end, and RS3 is also going to Vampirium. which was their big
Ooh.
keynote announcement right before leagues.
Yeah.
Like their last big thing was like, and now you can explore Vampirium. And then OSRS was like, you can explore Vampirium.
That's gonna be good, man. Did they said like late this year or early 2026?
Oh, I don't remember.
I feel like it's early 2026.
It might be.
So about a year from now, we'll have Blood Moon Rises.
It might be.
Blood Moon has already been an established canon thing.
Different Blood Moon.
It's a different Blood Moon, which is kind of confusing. You have the Blood Moon in the Perilous Moons.
So you know the Blood Moon is a real thing, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like it's a real thing that happens here on Earth.
Yeah.
That is what I'm sure that is referencing to, because it's the eclipse moon, the blue moon, and the blood moon.
Yeah.
They're real things that happen to the moon, you know?
I'm sure the Blood Moon has significance because vampires in the moon. And well, that's werewolves.
I think it's going to be magical. I think it's going to be like the blood moon is kind of going to be like, y'all ever play Skyrim? God, what was that DLC called? I keep saying Draken. It's not. It's the Dawn Guard. The Dawn Guard DLC from Skyrim, where when you side with the vampires, you get that bow that blocks out the sun.
Ooh,
I imagine it's going to be like, that's what I'm thinking. I doubt they're going to just like straight up copy that. Frankly, if you guys want spoilers of what could happen, go look at the RS3 wiki for Lord of Vampirium, because I didn't get a chance to talk with Ed or other about this like I wanted to. But if we look at quests in the game, like particularly Song of the Elves, it kind of shows how they continue some of these storylines. Like I know Desert Treasure 2 has some beats of Temple of Sentistan or whatever it's called from RS3, but I think the Professor Bannikin, he was one of them. Because as soon as we started Desert Treasure 2, Professor Bannikin popped up in Submedia and said, "Oh shit, that's Azanadra," and we're like, "Why would you spoil that?"
Damn, dude.
But so I'm interested to see how they're going to play that, because again, there already is a finale from RS3, but the summit was so good. Like, gushing about Blood Moon Rises aside, my favorite thing was the vibe, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
the sailing updates, I think I would have been pissed if they got on stage and I was watching it like from home and they were like, sailing is coming to open alpha in March, where all the stuff we talked about might finally be ready to use. I would have been...
Well, the first 3 things that they talked about in the summit were things we already knew, right? We had sailing, we had the Varlamore.
We got the trailer for the Duma Macchiato, which was cool. Pretty cool. The trailer was pretty cool.
They talked about the HD API plugins, and they talked about when they're now calling it like the crystalline crab or whatever. It's not a giant sand crab. It's just going to be a giant crystal crab. So a lot, like leading up to some of the more exciting announcements, we got stuff that we really already knew, which I kind of expected.
Oh yeah, I mean, like they always really do that. Like they always will do like full cinematic trailers of things that we already know exist. And like those announcements were good. Like the Varlamore Final Dawn was pretty hype. I think they brought Mod Other out for that one, and then they brought Genghis out for the plugin API HD mode, which looked pretty cool. And people
Rice
got pretty excited.
Yama? Was it Rice?
It was Arcane for Yama.
Okay, Arcane for Yama.
Rice came out for the summer sweep up.
Oh, right on.
Which is going to be great. Like it's going to be nice to like adjust necessary drop tables. Like we've been bitching about like chaos runes for a while, and I'm sure they'll address chaos runes at some point. But now here's the issue, right? We bitched about chaos runes for so many years because of the price of onyxes and the price of zenites. Now chaos runes are like a necessity for the shadow.
Yep.
You know, and they're going to continue to work with elemental weaknesses, and like they're going to change Slayer. Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Slayer bosses, Slayer content to make it more fun and engaging and interesting. We told Rice when we ran into him with the other J mods he's like, I have a panel. I'm actually like, not a panel. Like I have to get up there and speak. I'm kind of nervous. And we said, don't worry, we'll be cheering for you. And I told him, I'm like, I'm going to pick my hat up in the air. And if you see my hat, like you'll know it's me. And we haven't watched the stream. I don't think we're on it at all. But because we were sitting so close to the front, we put the hat up and he kind of looked and like pointed at us or waved at us or something like that when he came out because he did in fact see the hat. And I talked to him afterwards. I talked with him and other in Arcane when we were in line to do one of the skill chips. And I was like, you did great. He's like, I saw the hat. It was actually kind of really reassuring.
Oh,
so, yeah.
I love that. Rice is great. I'm so glad we had him on the show.
Oh, yeah. Great.
So good.
So what else did we see in the summit? I'm going to get coffee. You talk to the people for a moment.
Okay. Summer Sweep Up happened. Yama, which is a new end game duo boss encounter.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be so cool. The price of synapses went up because of that. I don't know how much, but obviously it's a demon, so it's going to be weak to Demon Bane. And one really interesting thing that Rice wanted us to like really emphasize with the community is their new quote unquote dry protection when it comes to the armor that this boss could potentially get. So the way that it works is you'll still have the 1 in whatever chance. Like let's just say it's a 1 in 500 drop chance. So 1 in 512 for an armor piece to drop. But at a more common drop rate, you'll get armor pieces. And they're going to balance it in the sense that by the time you would get to the 1 in 512, realistically, you would have enough armor pieces to fully craft the armor. So that if you do go dry, by the time you get to the 1 in 512 and you haven't received an armor piece, then you have enough of those armor chips, like the little armor things, components, to then just make your own. Thus saving you from going super, super dry for the armor components, for like getting the armor pieces. And so I think this is a really interesting concept to explore when it comes to future content and content that potentially could be revisited in the past. I'm always under the impression and under the mindset that older content can be readjusted, whether that's the JMod's opinion or the community as a whole's opinion, I don't know. But my personal opinion is I want dry protection in more places. So if they were able to like change older content to be more in line with this, I would be okay with it. I would vote yes. There are people who would vote no. There are people who would raise a stink. Maybe there's JMods who would just be like outright no. That's fine. But at least with this update, they're trying to tackle dry protection right now, built in from the get-go, and I think that's amazing. I think that's great. The little armor chips, the little smaller components of the armor will be tradable, which is great. Hey, thank you. Oxie just got me coffee, and he put ice in it.
Because my co-host is a sick fuck. I also hope you guys didn't hear all that clanging from the kitchen that the microphone would have picked up.
You didn't take it off?
Well, I brought it with me. I thought I would have comments to make, but then you started talking about the armor chips, which I didn't actually know about.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't. We were okay. So this is kind of getting ahead to Sunday. On Sunday, Michael and I tried the sailing beta or the sailing alpha or whatever it was. We tried the sailing alpha, and we ended up talking to Mod Curse, and we talked to Mod Curse for a good
She's like all over the kitchen.
We talked to Mod Curse for a good 20 to 40 minutes. Just about sailing and about our thoughts on it. And we had a really good conversation back and forth about what it meant to be players with 7,000 plus hours with expectations of how we move and how the camera works and how it looks different. We'll get to sailing probably here soon. But we were talking to Curse for so long that we just completely missed the Q&A summit.
Oh, right.
We just completely missed
the summit Q&A.
Yeah, on Sunday. So I didn't see any of the rewards. I still don't know what any of these bosses drop. Yeah, I know Rice told me that it's an armor and a horn.
I think it's a slash bonus.
the slash bonus armor, yeah, that he said would be better in places that you use slash. And I'm like, that's Theater of Blood.
Go Burr.
That's Scythe Go Burr, and that is possibly a new best in slot armor for Theater of Blood. But we'll see how the calculations pan out.
He said, yeah, it's going to have strength bonus, just not as much as Torva.
Which is if that's how they're going with it, it might be very cool to see like how attack bonus versus monster defense really helps. Like, because you could expand that to different styles. But anyways,
the armor components.
Our armor components were super cool. Or it's a super cool concept, rather.
And what I was going to say earlier, the armor components are going to be tradable. So if you are going, like, say you have all your armor and you still want to grind the boss, you can still make money along the way. Because hopefully so just as a concept, say the chest plate is 100 mil and it takes 10 armor components. You would think that each of the armor components are going to be like 10 and a half, 11 mil. Like usually it's more expensive to make it yourself than it is to buy it, because what tends to happen is people would then use that as like a moneymaker. You know how like it's cheaper to make unfinished potions. Mike, I think I'm getting off like on the I'm not thinking of this correctly, but generally it's cheaper just to buy the finished product than to make it yourself.
In some cases, but I think with a lot of like combinable items, what's happened is the secondary is so negligible that it doesn't matter. I think the only item I can think of that we could look at, we're not going to because we're sitting on a couch, right? But if you compare the price of a Nihil horn and an Armadillo crossbow to the price of a Zerite crossbow, that could be that could be a good explanation, because like Pegasian boots or primordial boots, right? The crystals or the boots are expensive, but not both, right? The Pegasian crystal is like 30K.
Yeah.
Ranger boots are like 40 mil. So like that's always the dichotomy, and the same thing with Herblore. Like it's relatively cheaper to sell unfinished potions because you lose a whole dose, and people also need that for like training supplies and things like that, where like you end up it's working in my head, but I don't know how to explain it, because like you get the unfinished Raynar potion, it's probably going to be, I don't know, 7 or 8K. You put the Snape Grass in. Snape Grass is what, 600 GP maybe at probably like absolute less, most, right? If Snape Grass is 600 GP, you get a 3-dose prayer potion that ends up being less than an actual prayer potion would be, so you're losing money. You're also getting less dosage out of a prayer potion, though,
right?
Because you're losing that dose unless you have the Amulet of Chemistry or what have you, to get that 4-dose potion. You're not making money in that skilling method.
The other example I thought of was with like if you buy damaged Torva and you buy like a Bandos chest plate and you break down the chest plate for the Bandos components and then you repair your own Torva, I feel like it would be cheaper just to buy fixed Torva.
Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, we don't know.
But I don't. Not that we don't know that. Like we don't know how the system works. I don't have. Could I get on my computer and Google it? I could. I'm not. You guys don't care about that. Yeah.
All that to say, the components that make up the armor should still make you money along the way. Maybe just not a big chunk all at once, which is a really cool concept for dry protection with Yama. And it seems like this is going to be a really fun boss to grind. They said that AKD is going to be a prereq for Yama. So if you haven't done a Kingdom Divided yet, go ahead and do that. And then timeline-wise, I'm pretty sure Yama comes out soon.
They said like April, I think.
Yeah, very, very soon, which is super exciting. Obviously, this stuff has to pass a poll, which if it isn't already live, go check and see if there's a poll in-game and read the blogs. We're not going to tell you how to vote, but if it's cool, vote yes.
It's a blanket yes from me.
Yeah, it's a blanket yes for everything.
It's a blanket yes from me. Again, I haven't read the reward blog, so I don't actually know. Hello, Blue.
Hi, Blue.
I haven't been able to see it, and like I don't want you guys to think that we haven't read it and we don't know the stuff because we don't care. This is our first full day back in the United States. We traveled for like 23 hours yesterday, so we're a little out of it, But Saturday, like what else was exciting at the summit? Obviously, the elephant in the room that was just sort of like gently thrown in there.
Was it sailing is going to be available this year?
No, Raids 4.
Oh yeah.
Kieran was just like, yeah, by the way, like we can confirm Raids 4 2026.
Let's go.
What? And he pretty much said that as like the walk-off three-pointer, like CM Ulm when he hits you with that like magic attack for a 46. That's pretty much what happened. He was like, yeah, Raids 4 2026. One more thing. And then it was a Blood Moon Rises trailer.
Oh, yeah. Well, because they don't have any details and they can't give any.
They do.
Maybe
They
they
definitely
gave some in the
have,
bossing.
they definitely have some details.
What if they had details in the Q&A and we just missed it? Because they didn't tell about it. They didn't stream that.
I mean, they would have it in the blog post to read, but it's not that I think they have details of what they want to do. I don't think they're making it public. Because like even talking with Curse about it, on Sunday, sailing could be utilized to get to the boss.
Yeah.
So like
I think that's going to be the case.
That it's going to be like, I don't think we're seeing a new raid until sailing comes out, which frankly I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I would love a new raid because especially if they're pumping out good content in the interim between Macchiato and Yama and the eventual new sailing skill release. Like the summit was super hype.
I think that the like you said in the beginning, I think the atmosphere and the vibe is what made it fun for me.
Oh my god, it was a different experience. Like we're watching like the last summit we streamed, right? You guys saw it. We were at home. We were like, okay, Rathma, whatever. Woo, yippee. This one, they could have been like, hey, we are gonna kill I was gonna say Duradel, but we are gonna kill the gnome child live on stage, and he'll never be in the game or merch again. And I think everyone would have been like, yeah, and it would have been just so exciting because everyone was there. Like we posted a video in the Xpwaste chat of like what we predicted would be in the summit. And while Michael and I were recording, some guy interrupted us and was like, okay, hold on. You mentioned Varlamore Achievement Diary. What slot would it go in? Because like people around us were excited for the same thing. Like the reason I started recording Michael is because some guy behind Michael had said, I predict we're getting stackable clues. And I heard that and I'm like, I'm going to get Michael's prediction. We'll get my prediction and we'll see how right we are. I'm sure you guys have seen that video, but it was such an exciting time. All of the cheering and everyone was there for the same thing. Like it didn't feel like there was a negative vibe for the summit at all. I know some people were like, oh my God, sailing, why? But we'll talk about it when we're in the car on the way down to the airport. Alpha was good. So the summit substantially better live.
Yes.
The Golden Gnomes, so much worse live. That shit took so long.
I had a way different experience with the gnomes live because the guy that was emceeing it was like working the crowd. And I enjoy like stupid humor like that with the socks and him trying to chug his beer. And then and he would start chugging and we would cheer. And then he would take a breath and we would all boo him. And then he would chug and then we would cheer and he would boo him. I don't know. It was cool. I liked okay, I'm eating my words here and I'm saying I liked the gnomes more than I thought I would. I liked them more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't love that repetitive humor. Like, I'm very much rule of three when I can be kind of guy. So when we beat a joke to death with the socks, like I was like, oh my God, please. I can't.
I'm a sucker for like repeat humor.
And I didn't know who the host was. We're at the casino later that night, I'm talking with, Hannah, Jep, and Potato and Idol, and I'm like, who is
Name
even
dropping
hosting
over
the
there.
thing? Because it was who I was standing around. We were just sitting there for like an hour. And they're like, oh, it was Alex whoever. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Does anyone know who hosted the thing? And they had to give me an explanation of like who he was. Apparently he used to be a RuneScape streamer named Raj Patel, and he like faked an Indian accent, and then people found out that he was just this American dude, and they're like, hey, that's not cool. And then he kind of left RuneScape and went into Variety and then blew up.
Huh.
So he did. I mean, he did a good job. I think he did. He did a good job hosting the Gnomes. It's a lot of awards,
It was a lot of. I was like,
and we're still actively advocating for more.
yes,
Like, tell your friends, get a podcast category in the Golden Gnomes 2025, 2026.
Golden Gnomes, please. And it's not even because we host a podcast.
I mean, it is because we host a podcast.
Well, yes, it's because we host a podcast, but it's also it's a very active and live part of the community. We have people in our community. We have 2,500 people in the Discord. We have thousands of people who listen every week. So it's like these people obviously like podcasts. They like old school RuneScape content so much that they put it on in their car at work, like going to work, or they have us in their headphones while they're working and stuff. So we're second monitor content, but we're very much important. And I'm not saying we as in Xpwaste. I'm saying podcasts in general. So you have Boonbabe, Sebe, Gothics Rests. There's people who post more inconsistently, but they're still podcasts at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. So more gnomes, but the gnomes were long. The gnomes were very long, and we were all like standing in the back. I think because we didn't get chairs, we just like stood in the back of the gnomes for the entire time.
The gnomes were long because like there wasn't the quantity of how many rewards they had wasn't the problem. Because when you read them all on paper, it's like, oh, there's like maybe 10, 15. But it was the fact that they had to reintroduce the category, and then they came out and they said a little blurb about it, and then they showed like a 5 to 7 second clip showing who all the nominees were. It was like the Oscars. And
Pretty much.
They're like, and this person won. And then they came up and they gave like a 1 or 2 minute speech. Rinse and repeat. It's going to take a while.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, like it's not that like the format was bad. It's not that like the Golden Gnomes themselves were like a waste of time. I think what got me, the summit wrapped up, and then the Golden Gnomes started at like 6:30. We had been at that convention center for like 9 hours at that point.
Yeah.
We had been there for 9 hours. We ate like the burger during the RuneScape quiz, because I didn't go to the RuneScape quiz. It seemed like people had fun. I did not go. I was eepy sleepy.
Same.
And wanted to eat. And Michael was in line for our shirts, and I got us food.
Oh yeah, the shirts. We got RuneFest shirts with our names on them.
We did, and they're pretty cool.
Pretty awesome.
I'm not gonna lie.
Mine's over there.
Let me see. We were just tired, and I'm like, it's not that like I don't care about the gnomes, because like obviously it's a great thing for the community, but I know for us, I think we were doing the skill chips. We were doing the hay skill chip, the cook's assistant one. I think I said that I didn't end up doing that one, just got the chip and left. But I was, walking around the arena, and then that's when I ran into Josh, was during the Golden Gnomes. And then eventually we just sort of milled about, and I ended up in like the back left of the Golden Gnomes. If you were like walking in to like look at the stage, I was in the back left with pretty much everybody. And then I was chatting with one of my friends throughout the entire time. And we kept agreeing that like when somebody like Jimmy or Soup or Settled wins a Golden Gnome, you really can't be mad at that. You can't be mad. Like these guys are icons in the old school community. And the amount of work that they do for these productions, it's like you can't be mad, I think the only one that people were annoyed with was that for the third time in a row, Oda got Streamer of the Year.
Like, seriously, dude.
I think for me, it's like I don't know anything about Oda Block. The only thing I have ever watched of Odablock is what?
Him dying to Doom.
Yep, the video of our clanmate killing his hardcore was the only thing I have ever actually seen.
Yeah.
Is Doom killing Oda. I'm not gonna lie, he's a talented PKer, and clearly he brings an audience to the stream. Pretty much every woman I have talked to in the old school community is like, yeah, Oda's a bit cringe. And I was like, okay, yeah, you gotta, if every single person you talk to says that, it's got some validity to it, at least from that population. So like, you know what? I'll give that respect and respect the people around me. I don't know enough about him to say that I like him or don't.
I don't really care for him. To say that I would have considered him to be the streamer of the year, probably not. I think at that point, in my opinion, it's just strength in numbers. Like, enough people really care about Oda that he won out over somebody who probably is a more authentic old school streamer, but just doesn't quite have the numbers
I mean,
that he pulls. Because PK content is very popular. He was a staker back in the day, so like that kind of audience that he pulls are very loyal.
I mean, like,
he pulls.
I don't think that means he's not an authentic old school streamer. I think like PK content is about as authentic as content as you can get, because there was no progress series back in the day. There were two kinds of videos. There were RSMVs and RS skits, which were just people being dumber than shit in the game. And then what else?
PK videos.
PK compilations, PK videos, PK highlights. So like to talk about like what is authentically RuneScape content, it hardly gets more authentic than PvP.
True.
So
when I say authentic, I mean like he's not doing a like an Iron Man. He's not.
He was until Doom killed him. Hell,
that's true.
Hell yeah, Doom. Hell yeah, Doom. That's our boy.
I may be like talking out of my ass here, which I probably am.
I was gonna say we don't know. I've watched one clip of Odablock, and it's when my clanmate killed him. I don't. That's what I said. Like, I don't watch him enough to know whether or not he should or shouldn't be streamer of the year. I don't watch a bunch of Twitch. The critique that I have is that when every single woman I interact with around this game goes, Odablock, you can't just blow that off.
Right.
There's got to be something that we as like cis white dudes aren't seeing, because again, we don't watch them. We don't really pay that much attention. So like initially I was super indifferent, and then the friend who I was talking to was like, yikes, that's not great. And she explained why, and I was like, all right, sure. Like, makes sense. Like, I don't know. So I wouldn't even say that like he didn't deserve to win it. It's just he's the only one that's like, everybody else I either didn't know or you really can't be mad at.
Yeah.
I think some people that I wanted to win Gnomes got stiffed out of the nomination. Like,
true.
I put Messiah up for best new video creator. He got an honorable mention. And then I did nominate Kamakeen for music, but she does not have the listenership yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say one day her stuff will get to the right person, and she will blow up, because that shit rules.
Yeah.
The Gnomes were a great time. Well, the Gnomes were an okay time. Runefest was a great time.
Runefest was a great time, yeah.
Gnomes were something that I definitely could have like. I think being
on the computer,
being in person was great for the summit. Being at home in my computer chair where I could get up and get a snack and look at my second monitor and play RuneScape would have been way better for the Golden Gnomes. Yeah. The Golden Gnomes definitely would have been like, not that it was bad production. It's just maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe I've been there for 9 hours. I don't want to make it seem like the Golden Gnomes were bad or cringy, or that they were like we shouldn't do them in person. Do you think we should do them in person next year?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
It's gonna be even harder when we get nominated and have to sit through the entire thing. Oh, such a bad problem to have.
So after the gnomes, though, we kind of talked about it a little bit. It was the after party. Before the after party, we went to Weatherspoons right in the NEC because we were gonna go to somewhere else.
We're gonna try to get Michael a little bit of cheeky Nando's.
Oh yeah. But turns out we were walking out and Weatherspoons was open.
It was far away and we're trying to get there, and then the Weatherspoons in the NEC was open, and we looked at it and we're like, we ain't taking that cab. And that's where we're gonna leave you here for a brief minute because it is currently 11:15 and Michael has to get to the airport. So we will join you very soon in the car. Until then, either enjoy this recycled commercial or maybe Michael puts together some footage of what RuneFest was like. Maybe you get a cheesy little slideshow. Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of pictures and things to go through. Or maybe Michael saves himself time because he's got to start editing this video like tonight or tomorrow. And you just get a reused commercial. We're probably not going to do Patreon or Achievement of the Week or anything like that in the second half. So if you usually leave at the break because of the community section, stick around because we're not done talking about the weekend. We just need to talk about it from the car. So see you very soon.
Hey, I'm the guy that sits in the, I'm the guy that sits real far away. Not a lot of people come around here, but my name is, don't worry about my name. We don't do names here. You come here, you give me what I want, I give you what you want, alright? And we don't ask questions. I have a lot of bones. You don't ask me where I got the bones from. I don't ask you what you need with the bones. And that's how this works, alright? We don't ask questions, alright? You come in, you give me money, I give you bones. Human bones, animal bones, dog bones, any sort of bone. But on the one proviso, you don't ask me where I got the bones, and I don't ask you what you need with the bones. Alright? You look me in the eye. Because if you don't accept that, we're gonna have a problem. You wanna know my name? You can call me Dan. I'm Dan the Bone Man. That's all you need to know. Alright? And then when we're done, you never met me. I never met you, alright? This never happened. I don't know who you are, alright? Good. Now get the f*** out of here.
Are we back? Is this back? We're back. All right, perfect. We're back. We're here. We're in the car. We're heading down to Detroit to drop Michael off.
Let's go.
And we are still going to be talking about good old Runefest.
So I had a cap on day one.
Ah! There's no way that it immediately fell. There's no fucking way that it immediately fell. God damn it! That's definitely not back the first time. We're hitting a roundabout, so brace it here. Brace it here when we hit this roundabout.
Here we go.
Oh my god.
Welcome back to this. We're in
Yeah, perks of having a non-stable tripod just like on the dashboard of my car. Well, we're still going through the relatively like residential areas kind of where I live. That we're going to be stopping and going for the next couple of miles here. But yeah, after the Golden Gnomes, we ended up at Weatherspoons. I don't know if we already talked about it in the other half of the episode. Maybe Michael and I just talked about this when we weren't recording. But it was really cool to see everybody there. I think we talked about it yesterday. If we're repeating ourselves, we'd apologize, because again, it was about 24 hours ago that we talked about this stuff. It's been such a long day. But it was super cool to see like big creators, small creators, fans, J-mods, all literally just eating at the same place. It was great. But then after we ate, we did go to the after party, which we did talk about a little bit. The after party wasn't as cringe as we thought it was going to be. I think they just have to, like, I know they released like a RuneScape EDM album, kind of, and they tried to push that. They just got to play real music next time. I think they play real music next time, just like off the rip, it gets more people involved. I mean, like classic white people bangers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like get Mr. Brightside going, get Don't Stop Believin' going. Really get the people out on the floor, you know?
Agreed. I agree. And you can mix in like RuneScape stuff. Like that wouldn't be an issue. I think if you had more hype EDM, because it was like not stuff that you would just like jam out to. It was like, oh, this is a nice listen. Bob your head.
It was more like a casual. It's a house mix, I think is what it's called. This was the RuneScape house mix, and then I'm glad the way they did it. I think it's really jarring to go from like a song that you can sing along to and almost do like dance floor karaoke to like do 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 do. Like I don't know if anybody wants that, you know.
Agreed.
But otherwise, the RuneScape party, the after party, like the official one, wasn't too bad. I don't know if I would. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. The official one wasn't too bad. Unofficial after party was fucking sick. And it was only sick in the sense that, like, it wasn't like a huge rager on Saturday night. We just sort of, like, went to the local casino that was on the property and just shared a couple drinks there. Like, we weren't sure what we were going to do afterwards, but it was actually Josh that told us, because when I met Josh Hayes with Olkey, he was like, yeah, afterwards everyone's going to the casino at, like Regents or someplace like that. I don't remember. Regents Hotel, I don't remember where. But we all ended up at the casino. And when I say we all ended up at the casino, I mean like we all ended up at the casino. Like our whole group was there. We were there with other content creators. J-mods were there. People just like all grouping up and chatting and having a great time. Nobody was doing any gambling, which I thought was nice. Because we didn't have a ton to gamble. But
it was that like gambling is tax free there.
Good to know.
Yeah. I was talking to, I think it was Gin Junkie, or maybe it was Scape actually. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I gamble here, am I gonna have to like I don't know how to pay taxes. He's like, probably target, you don't pay taxes. It's all tax free. I mean, America makes a lot of money off of gambling tax, so I don't know where that money would be made up, maybe in sales tax. But we're not going to get into the intricacies of government on this podcast.
I'm sure one day we will, but not today. Not today.
Not today's.
Yeah, I think the after party evening, I wanted to make a joke to Michael, but he wasn't. I feel like you were up like talking to your son or something at one point when we were all hanging out. Because like I said, at one point it was Potato Heem, Idol, Jep Wright, myself, and Annie. We're all just like sitting at the end of a table chatting or whatever. I met Idol kind of on accident. I heard an American accent. Some guy was like, oh yeah, I'm going to try to split the G. And he did a really shitty job of it. Sorry, Idol. He went underneath the G in the Guinness. And I was like, oof, yeah, rough, dude. I just heard someone in an American accent do it, and I wanted to see how well we can split a G. And I looked up and I said, holy shit, you're Idol. He's like, yeah, that is me. So we met him, and then we all just sort of like hung out and chatted. But again, it wasn't like, I don't want to make it seem like it was some like super exclusive creator club. It was like the other guys we were with, Lorley, Doombar, Gin Junkie. We're all just like jumping in on the conversation together.
Yeah.
You know? Like I think one of them, it was like a VIP in Potatoes chat and like a mod in Idols chat was there just hanging out and spending time with us too. I talked to him. I didn't catch his name, but I did talk to him for a little bit when we were at the bar. We were standing right by the bar. And it was just a really fun time to intermingle. And I wanted to make the joke to Michael with everybody there. Like, look at all our guests coming together and talking to each other. We did this. We made them famous. But I had a really great time at the casino. Did not have a great time on the walk home.
Oh gosh.
So the casino was running a 2 for £8 deal on beers. So a couple of beers. And by the time we left the casino, I was feeling slightly intoxicated. And
I think I was too tired to be drunk.
Michael was too tired to be drunk, and he let us know because we had to walk back to where we were. We should have just called an Uber. I don't know why we thought the walk back would have been the play.
It was like 2 miles. Felt like, at least. It was a
It felt like 10 miles.
Oh.
Because I was going to say 2 miles for me ain't nothing. It felt like we were walking for a million years. Because the way the GPS took us, it was closed off. The way the GPS took us was initially closed off. So we had to walk like around and through like the back alleys of the NEC and things like that. And Michael's lagging behind. He's like, "What do you guys feel about taking a break? I'm moving. I'm fading fast, you guys. Like, we gotta go." I'm like, It's 1:30 in the morning. It's 30 degrees, and we are in the middle of Birmingham. We ain't stopping. You gotta keep on stepping. That was the keep on stepping was the vibe for the entire weekend when we were moving.
So day 1, I had like 18,000 steps. That's from when we woke up in the morning at like 8 to midnight. And then after midnight, it kept counting my steps. So by the time we got back to the hotel, from midnight to 2 a.m., I had another like almost 4,000 steps. We were moving. That's so many. I know that's not a lot, because my average is pretty low, and maybe my idea of what a lot of steps is off. But that was so many steps for what could have been. Could have just took an Uber home.
Next time we take an Uber home. We got home and I think I made it for like maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I fell right asleep.
Yeah,
I think I was like, I don't care how gross I am. I'm just gonna get in, go to the bathroom, and go to bed because I was a little tired, a little drunk, and ready to go to bed. So it's about 2 a.m. We get about, I don't know, maybe 6 hours of sleep that next night because Runefest opened an hour later on the Sunday. So we get about 6 hours of sleep, and then it's just the morning process was more or less rinse and repeat. Where we wake up, Michael's adjusting the camera. Where we wake up, we do breakfast at the hotel with the boys, and we were kind of getting a little hyped up because at breakfast they were talking about sailing. Because that was our big thing. We didn't get to try sailing on Saturday, and Michael and I really, really wanted to try it. Like, we felt we needed to get in there and try sailing. So if we weren't going to get to do bank heist, one of the first things we wanted to do was sailing. Sunday, like we said, rinse and repeat. We ran into some RS3 guys on the tram over from the airport to the NEC, and we didn't talk about our boy from the airport, Ben.
Oh right.
Yeah. So we're sitting in the Toronto airport.
So this is like Thursday.
This is Thursday, right? We're sitting in the Toronto airport at like 3 p.m., 3:30, and Michael has his Runescape desk mat out, and I'm in the gauntlet. I fell into an Iron Man ADHD hole, and I ended up in the gauntlet trying to get combat achievements. And this guy, like, I can kind of tell this guy's like staring at us because he walked up and was kind of like looking or whatever, and he like looked and he asked, he was like, "Do you guys play RuneScape?" And my first response was like, "No." like no, we don't. As I'm actively in the gauntlet on my GIM. Michael has the desk mat out, and I'm like, "Yeah, we do." He said RS3 or old school. We said old school. He said cool. I'm RS3. He told us his name, our boy Ben. We say that because we don't know his screen name, and we actually ran into him at Runefest again. Several times we ran into him at Runefest, and after the RS3 summit, we kind of caught him, and we're like, "Dude, we've never played RS3 in our lives. Was that summit good?" Because he was with a group of his friends, and him and all of his friends were like, "Holy shit, that summit was hype. That summit was hype." So RS3 apparently got a very good summit too, which, like, good for them. I know we didn't touch on it, but like
We can. So one thing that I'm kind of excited about.
the only thing that Michael and I are excited about, it's the same thing, I guarantee you.
It's going to be RS3 leagues.
Oh my god. Oh yeah.
I'm hyped for that. As long as it doesn't interfere with old school leagues, which
RS3 leagues in the summer would be great.
That's 2 leagues a year.
RS3 leagues in June and old school leagues in like late November.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be so good.
That would be great.
I feel like somebody, if you guys are RS3 players, please promote to the JMods. RS3 JMods are cool as hell. Because I ended up talking to one of them, talked to Blackwitch for a little bit about art. Because on Sunday, TLDR, I did not go to the Zerys panel, did not care. And actually, I went to the RS3 panel that I said I was going to. I actually went to the RS3 panel. Did you go to the RS3 room? It was disappointing.
Oh.
It was like you had to like go up a couple flights of stairs. And it was like a significantly smaller room with significantly less chairs, and only like probably the first like 3 or 4 rows were like nearly full with people, and the other people were like scattered. I'd say there was about 40 or 50 to the old school room that fielded like at least 500 for their big panels.
Yes.
Like the narrative panel was great with it was Ed, Rice, and other. That was a great panel. They talked about like how they design and like what their core pillars of design are, and even addressed it. He's like, the elephant in the room is that like I'm not trying to shit on RS3, but we're doing things very differently.
Right.
I've got some
like story-wise. There's a lot of there are some overlaps, but they're actively steering the story away in everything that they do. It's built in that they want to make old school story completely different. Like they even have it in their manifesto, like the gods will never return.
You are not special.
You are not special as a player. You will never interact with a god directly or indirectly. And so whenever they're making quests and whenever they're putting content into the game, these are the pillars that they're standing on. And the foundation of everything they do is really set in stone, which I think is amazing. And it gives me a lot of confidence. Well, it gives me more confidence in the quest team and the story team and even just the content team, knowing that they have a foundation for what the narrative of old school is like. And it's not just going to be, oh, that quest was really cool in RS3, let's copy and paste it. Because if that story doesn't fit within their parameters of how they want to build the story, they'll change it. And it's not just going to be a copy and paste. So it's really cool. It's really cool to hear from them.
I'm sure we've had some pictures on screen, but I did take a couple screenshots of like what it looked like what the actual panel was, and some of the stuff they were putting up. And it was very good. It was very. Unfortunately, they didn't have a ton of time for Q&A afterwards, because when you get the 3 developers who like tell stories, they're kind of yappers.
Yeah,
they do yap quite a bit, but it was great. And I even went over to the other narrative panel that was just Other and Mod Grub. It was Mod Other and Mod Grub, and then Mod Kirby showed up too. And it was like a fireside chat. Like I'm actually on the old school Runescape Twitter. It's the one obviously you didn't see because you don't do Twitter, but the one I retweeted is I'm in the back of that photo chatting with Other and Grub. It was a great conversation. Like the narrative panel was cool. The bossing panel was cool. That I think. Did you see the bossing panel at all?
Yeah,
I feel like you were in there for a second. You walked away from me.
Oh, I went and sat down.
Oh yeah, I was just like standing in the back.
I was like, I'm not going to stand this whole time. I would love to be here. And I watched the entire thing, but I was sat. You were on the right side when you walked in, and I was on the left side with Chaos Cleric and Oki and Robert and stuff.
I was just watching, and it was Arcane, Kieran, Rice, and Matt.
Yep.
So obviously we know what Arcane did. Kieran did Chambers and Inferno.
Which I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that he was the Chambers guy, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, he was like
It's such a great legacy.
He did Ohm like by himself.
That's insane.
Oh yeah. And then he also did Inferno, and then Rice obviously has done Moons of Peril and other bossing content, and then Mac did the Coliseum. So it was really good and insightful to chat with them, and for all of my fellow TOA haters, because as we know, all my homies hate TOA, Mod Arcane and Mod Kieran addressed it directly. They're like, TOA is not the kind of raid that we envisioned because it is a little over-designed. Where Arcane even admitted, he said each of those 5 bosses could be a standalone final boss, especially Akka.
Yeah.
it could be a standalone final boss. And we were just talking about in the Raids Bank Bingo that I was in, is that you need to have constant attention, and if you misclick, it's over. The run is done, you are dead. Yeah. Arcane said the same thing. He said the raid is too balanced on you paying complete attention and not making any mistakes.
Yeah. They said it multiple times, but they used the phrase turn your brain off. And that really got me thinking, you can turn your brain off in chambers.
You can turn your brain off in top. Yeah.
But TOA, really, I mean, unless you're in Zabak, maybe in Kefri.
But it's the prayer switching that you really can't, right? Like with Zabak, you need to change prayers and move. Whereas, like they mentioned, think of the bosses in Theater of Blood, right? You have a specific role in Maiden, and if you're not freezing, you're chilling, right? At Bloat, go in, avoid the feet, avoid the bees, click the boss. Nilo, pick a color, any color, kill that color, and then switch prayers with the boss. The boss fight is obviously a bit more engaging. Sodaseg, stand still, change prayers, run a maze, kill the boss. Zarpus, don't attack him when he looks at you.
Easiest one.
Verzik is
you have to pay attention. You know what? I think that's the problem. Not the problem. That's what is going on with me in Top. I haven't gotten to that point where I can turn my brain off.
Yeah, it happened to me. I mean, it happened to me too. Like that's why I stopped streaming Top when I was still doing Twitch. Is because I couldn't focus on Theater of Blood and the chat at the same time. Now I can. I don't care. Especially if I'm with a team of like people not only that I know are going to complete the raid, but like that I know really well. Like when I went with my Raids Bank Bingo team, it was me, Fear, and Cole doing trios. Those are the stupidest, silliest trios I've done in a long time. Yeah. It was a great time. And when you get to that point with any piece of content, most pieces of content, it's pretty relaxed. Like, as much as I hate to say it, even the Inferno is a little brain off prior to like wave 50, right? Because once you get just the one tick do, once you get the one tick alternate down, it really is brain off. And I know that sounds like the most elitist opinion I've had. It's not saying the Inferno is easy. It's saying
it's not elitist. It just means that you've experienced it enough where you're comfortable with it.
Exactly. There are ways to quote unquote master it to a point where you don't have to be like light knuckling the double blob melee wave like who gives a shit.
And I'm sure there are people out there who can turn their brain off at Toa.
But it's really hard. It is really hard to turn your brain off at Toa.
If you get to the point where you can turn your brain off at Toa, you bump up the invitation. If you get to the point where you're like, I'm comfortable with 150s, let's bump it up to 260s or whatever.
And then suddenly you can't, or there's a new effect that the boss does, or you don't get food anymore. Like it's
like you push yourself so much with the invocation system. You could literally run 150s all day, every day, turn your brain off, and never push yourself to get better. But that's not how Toa was. It's not how it was developed. It was developed in such a way that like you are constantly wanting to push yourself to do more, to get better, to bump up the invocation so that your drop rate is better.
Oh yeah. And they addressed that straight up, and it was really cool to hear them say that because it was very validating, yes. And this like their logic of like simple is always better, and how like they as developers run into this like I thought it was a really cool mechanic. I'm inspired by this boss, and like this is really what I want to do. And they try to cram too much shit into it. They try to cram too much shit in it. It makes it overcomplicated and difficult to fight. We're like,
they mentioned that a lot. It's like whenever they're designing bosses, through the iterations of everything that they do, they really look at and criticize themselves on over-developing with mechanics. Now, do certain bosses make it into the game with overdeveloped mechanics? Yes, they called out Grotesque Guardians as one of those bosses. It's like, this doesn't feel like a Slayer boss. So that's why over the years, they've changed the fight, they've updated the fight, they've tried their best to make Grotesque Guardians feel like other Slayer bosses, but at this point, it's way Sire. They're addressing Sire at some point.
The summer sweep up. Oh, I can't wait.
I hope, this is my hope for Sire. Wish list here. I hope they knock out 2 of the vents, so you just have 2 vents that you have to deal with, because that's still a cool mechanic. Knock out 2 of the vents, make them meleeable, and then whenever Sire goes into his little rage phase, just have it happen right there. Like, let's get rid of the walk. Just like let him do his little stance, pop up his little face thing too, and then the rest of the fight will be golden.
I think the issue with that is the positioning with the tentacles. I think that's why it is where it is.
Get rid of the tentacles.
Well, I mean, like, it's environmental has, like, that's why I don't know what they're going to clean up with Sire. Maybe they'll give Sire an additional weakness. But I think it'd be a really cool mechanic for Sire, because you mentioned the vents. Make the vents spawn randomly. Like, make it 2 or 3 vents that randomly appear when the fight starts. Like, it's not like you know it's going to be all 4. It's a random assortment of what vents. Kind of like the randomness with a Raxor, you know? Glad you were going to do the same thing I was going to do, because blocking the GPS. Kind of like with the Raxor, where it's...
Do you like the other one?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Stop fucking with my front family, you kid. Where you just, like, you start the fight, you know what vents are up, and you know what the fight is going to look like when the vents are up. Obviously, don't make it a copy of a Raxor, but do something to make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
You know? It's not even consistency. It just, like, needs to be fun, I guess. And it has struggled to be fun for a long time with Sire. But, yeah, I'm excited for that. I didn't stay for the Q&A because, speaking of creators being fantastic, they had a creator campfire space.
Yeah.
Where a creator, like, every half an hour would just sit and, like, chat with fans and get to meet him and all that. The only one we went to was Hannah's. So Hannah had a campfire, and I didn't know what they were. She told me about it the night prior, that she had a campfire and she was worried nobody was going to show up, and that she was just going to be, like, sitting there talking to nobody. And I left the bossing panel early. Like, they started the Q&A, and I left it as the Q&A started to get to Hannah's campfire. And that bitch was packed. There were so many people there.
There was at least 30
Hannah. Hannah? Combine both names. Hannah and Hannah.
At least 30 people crowded around.
Oh my god, yeah, they were all crowded around her. I think I was one of the first people to talk to her there. And I was like, yeah, you said nobody was going to show up. You're crazy. Like, and it was great. Like, we ended up leaving that earlier than we thought, because she was just sort of like, yeah, I don't know, let's mingle and I can get to know you guys. And I was gonna, the only thing I wanted to do is I wanted to stick around and be like, hey, sorry, I thought this was somebody else. I'm gonna go do something more interesting. Just to tease her, just to mess with her a little bit. But, like, we've spoken to Hannah a lot, and a lot of these fans I don't think ever had. Because they were, like, taking pictures with her and chatting with her and all that. And we're like, you know, we're first name basis with Hannah, so we're gonna leave and let other people enjoy. So Hannah, if you're watching, sorry we didn't stick around at your campfire super long, but I hope the cough drop Michael gave you helped. But then I went over to the narrative panel. That was great.
I think I skipped that one. I may have skipped that one.
The narrative, because they had 2 different campfires, right? Technically they had 3. They had the one campfire closer to the entrance, which was creators. They had another campfire on the opposite side, which was like just like meetings and things. Like, the first was like women in RuneScape, cool panel. I don't think there were any men there, because I don't, like, would I have liked to sit in? Yeah.
I think there was like one guy, but it probably was like a boyfriend or a husband.
Yeah, but not for me. Not that I wouldn't have been interested, it's just that's not for me. And I'll kill you. Dude, I can see out the window, no problem. Man's reaching over and messing with my windshield like
You were so protective.
Maybe I am. Anyways, they had the narrative panel, they had the art panel where they brought old school and RS3 artists in. And then in the middle, they had like a dedicated design panel where every half an hour, design devs were giving like mini lectures with like how they made the different things. And I am disappointed I didn't get to catch any of those. I feel like they were mostly RS3 from what I saw, because I feel like I never saw any old school.
Like Mod West, was it leading? I would have said it.
I feel we gotta strap this bitch to the car next time. The pianos were super fun.
The design one, though.
The design one,
Mod West.
I didn't
Didn't see him.
I didn't get to see it. I didn't get to see the art of old school panel either. I think at that point I was just like paneled out. 'Cause
Yeah.
I wanted to see that one. What did you think of the Zerys panel? I did not go, and as we all know, I am a certified Project Zerys hater. And you see this disappointed dad head shaking. I asked him to tell me about it all weekend, and he never told me. So now, Michael, what was Project Zerys like in the panel? Because we briefly talked about it at dinner on Sunday night, but I didn't hear anything from you.
So they in the summit they gave like a little short video, and they showed off people actually playing in a Project Zerys server and the ideas that they had come up with. So what they did in the panel was they gave us a live demo of the interface that you have. So every customizable option, all the intricacies of what you can do within your server to set it up. So if you think of like a Minecraft realm, or if you think of you have a game and you're going in and you've downloaded a mod, it's basically that. It's old school RuneScape with mods. You can set like maximum levels, you can set minimum levels. If you want to set yourself to 10,000% damage buff, if you want to set yourself to a 5% damage, like give yourself less damage, you can set yourself to 100,000 times XP. You can set yourself to 0.5% XP. So like there's just the customization options were really cool to see. And so in the live demo, they basically did the behind the scenes of what they showed in the video. They showed themselves creating the servers that they had in the video. So Rat King, and I think it was like Falador Massacre or something, Falador Fight Club. So they went through and they showed how they built each of those versions of their servers and gave in-depth looks into each of the customization options. And they answered some questions, which the only question I really had was, how much is this going to cost? And do you have to be a member to access someone else's server? And they said, yes, you have to be a member. And they don't really know what the cost is going to look like at this point per month. But it is going to be a monthly charge to have your server up and running. And right now, I think the servers are going to be at launch. They're going to be limited to about 50 people. But their plans and their hopes are to bump that all the way up to 2,000, which is insane. They did confirm that these servers will be cross-play enabled, so you can play on your old school account, you can do like AFK woodcutting, and you can be on a server. So it's not going to take away from the community having to choose. But overall, like it got me, I wouldn't say way more excited, but it just solidified the excitement that I have to try this out when it comes out. A lot of the people's questions during the Q&A portion were related to like, is this going to take away from leagues? Is this going to, ruin people's gaming experience? Blah, 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 blah. And the mods that were up there, it was Sarni, I can't remember the other ones, but it was like, Mod Default was up there. It was the people that are working closely with Zerys, and they're very confident that this is not going to make other content seem less fun. The fact that they are delaying any updates to the servers is great. So like say a Raxor came out today, you wouldn't get a Raxor in your Zerys server for like 6 months, potentially a year. It's like it's that delayed to stop people from going in there and just grinding out content to practice with no consequences. So overall, Project Zerys, I'm happy that they're still moving forward with it. I really wish Oxie had just gone to say whether or not he had an opinion at all about it. I think the first time you're going to experience Project Zerys is if I make a server for you, or somebody makes a server for you to hop in.
Probably.
And I don't know. I think you'll like it once it's in the game. I think that once the servers go live and we can get in there and customize, it's going to be something that is like, if we wanted to have a random fun event as a clan, we just make a quick server, pop it open, and let people get in there, and like, maybe it is like a Fight Club tournament kind of thing. You know, they were talking about all of the different ways that they could customize this to get really granular. One of the suggestions from one of the mods is like, we could have it to where, you know, players spawn in different locations. You all get a loadout, and then once the arena, like LMS, the arena starts shrinking, and then it could just reset you once you die, and you can just keep playing your own version of LMS without the bots and without the tryhards and all the sticky stuff that comes with having to do LMS in the main game. So the customization options were limited, but they said that full-fledged, the full-fledged release, they're obviously going to have more, and they'll keep adding more as time goes on, after they get feedback and after they get people making suggestions and they think of things. Overall, Zerys, I'm very excited. Do you have any questions about Zerys?
Not really. I mean, you've done a good job of explaining it, and cool, they've got the interfaces worked out for what you're going to do. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is what saves the longevity of RuneScape, and people can play it on small custom servers. And I hope that these small custom servers don't become so much fun that it takes away from the real game. You know?
And if it does, that's for people to figure out. You know? If it does, whatever. I don't think it's going to be like, you know, because they said in the summit they had 238,000 people logged in for leagues. I don't think that this is going to take even a fraction of that many people away full time. It might, like maybe at 1%.
Like I said, I hope I'm wrong and you're right.
Yeah.
You know?
And the burning question everybody has, are we going to make a Project Zerys server for bingo? I don't think so.
Fuck no.
I don't think so.
Fuck no.
We'll have smaller events, fun things that we can do, maybe like a hide and seek.
It's
or
also
a
only
prop
open
hunt.
to 50 people, you guys.
Well, at this point, yes. But like once they open it to 2,000, the possibilities are endless. I don't think that we'll have an official TNL Xpwaste bingo happen within a Project Zerys server. And the big thing that I think about when I think of bingo is account progression and like the meaningfulness of all the drops. It would just, that would get stripped away. And for me, I don't want to lose that part of bingo. Yes, it would be very cool to just like have each team be identical in their loadout, and we could track things way easier. But that's not the essence of bingo.
There's also no way to track it. And this is what I am a little frustrated with. Is like, did they mention anything about showing whether or not something you are in a Zerys server?
Yeah, they talked about a UI element. So it'll be either like a chat box thing. You know how like if you're an Iron Man, your Iron Man helmet pops up. In your leagues, your little league shield will pop up. I'm almost certain that they'll have a chat box.
Did they say that?
They've said it in past live streams. They didn't address it in the Project Zerys.
Because that's what bothers me about bingo, period, going forward with Project Zerys, is how do we even prove? I mean, obviously there will be ways to validate it, but like, I don't know, man. There are plugins that show shields that aren't there.
Yeah.
Like the hardcore Iron Man shield, there are plugins to show that doesn't exist. So,
True.
I don't know. Unless Project Zerys can't be accessed from RuneLight, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know, and I'm not as optimistic, especially talking about a Project Zerys bingo. Absolutely not. I have no interest in a Project Zerys bingo. Miss me with that shit. I have no interest in doing that. But
After the Zerys was it the Gnomes?
So, no, that was on Sunday. So, the one thing we haven't talked about for Sunday, that was one of the highlights. One of the highlights of my Sunday, sailing. It's time to talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
Sailing is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It's very early, and we only got to drive like the first 2 boats, I think.
Yep, I got to level like 10 organically.
Yeah, sailing is good. I gotta say, sailing's good. I think for me, the biggest pull is going to be the exploration.
Yeah.
The exploration around just like Gillinor, like, yeah, cool, I want my max cape back, but like, I will be lost at sea for years.
Yep.
Just going around and charting everything, because like I love doing that in what we all think of is like the best pirate game to ever release, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and the amount of time I spent upgrading my ship and exploring every tiny little island that I could find in Black Flag, 100% I'm going to be doing that in Old School, because I've already got every other skill to 99, so I just need to get the sailing level, and it's going to be so fun. And like, there were a couple things with navigation that I did like, a couple things I didn't like. So the one notable thing that I really, really liked with navigation is the collision. The navigation itself felt like kind of like how Valheim works almost, where like if you guys ever played Valheim, you kind of like move in a circular direction. Instead of like being a full 360 degrees, it was almost divided up like every 30 or 45 degrees. And it was intuitive enough, right? Like, it was intuitive for what we were working with. It kind of showed you the direction that you were going when you clicked. And when you click, your boat goes in that direction, which
keeps going.
It just keeps going in that direction. You keep going in that direction. It doesn't really stop at a given point unless you shut off the sails, like if you unset the sails. What threw me off as a player with as many hours as I have is I was at the Wizard's Tower. And I got to the Wizard's Tower, and on the other side of the Wizard's Tower, there was a shipwreck that you could charter. And I went to go charter the shipwreck, and I sort of like clicked over to that side, thinking that my character in game, I have this long thing in front of me, figuring my character would sort of go around and get to it. That's not the case. My boat turned and crashed like right into the bridge of the Wizard's Tower. Because I didn't even pay attention. I just like clicked and looked away to see what Okie was doing, and I was crashed into the wall. And I had deliberately crashed myself into a wall earlier because I wanted to see what it was like to get out of that situation. It was beautiful. You crash into the shoreline, and your boat sort of like if you're like, oh shit, I crashed. If your sails are still set, you don't have to worry about wind direction or anything like that. Your boat just sort of like rotates on the central axis.
Yep.
And you see, if you're like crashed here and you want to go the other way, you just sort of like rotate like this, and your whole ship starts going the other way. It doesn't look super janky, and it's such a big quality of life.
When you say crash, nothing actually happens. There's no boat.
Yeah, you don't take damage when you hit walls or anything like that, which is also very nice.
You just run into the wall.
Yeah, it's like there's some bits that are like convenient. Like I went to the area by God, what's that place called? Blanking. No, by Temporos. That part of the Caribbean desert.
Oh, right.
Not by Temporos, where you get on the boat in Alcarid, by the Shanty Pass. The Shanty Pass, that's what it is. There was a little crate there. There's like, just have floating crates in the water. And I went to go do the crate or whatever. And getting past the agility shortcut to get from the Lumbridge Swamp through to the Caribbean desert was annoying as shit to navigate around. So it's like, if I have a bigger boat, I'll even be able to go there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't love that. It seemed like you can have multiple boats.
Yeah.
Like at a time.
Yeah, and you can swap them out.
Yeah. So if there's somewhere you need to get, like you can have a specific boat to get there, which is cool.
I'm excited for you guys to play the alpha in a few weeks.
Oh, it's gonna be great, you guys. You're gonna really like it.
Once the entire community has access to this, and we can get a larger collective brain going, I think that sailing progression, not progression of like the community's progression, but like development progression is just going to skyrocket, because they'll have so many more people's feedback of things that they may not have thought about, things that maybe they thought was okay, but the community at large is just not a fan of. You'll see so many changes come to sailing now that in a few weeks, once the alpha is live, it's going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a sailing stan. I did not vote for sailing as our new skill, but I'm very excited.
I will say I did have some gripes with it. The most frustrating part for me, when you are on the ship, there will be like points of interest to chart, right? And when you go to like chart that point of interest, your character like almost like dismounts the steering wheel and your boat stops moving when you chart it. But like, I feel like that should be something that I just drive by and do, you know? And I feel like if I click on something, I want to be able to click back and start moving immediately. Now, I understand, like, that might be vague, right?
Very big.
But you guys will understand when you play the alpha what I'm talking about, assuming it hasn't been patched out. But you'll go from, like, fully operating a ship to clicking on something you want to interact with, whether it's a crate or an NPC or you're charting something, and your character will get off the helm of the ship and do the activity and will not automatically go back to the helm of the ship.
Oh,
right?
I
So
see what you mean.
Like, you need to almost like get back and put the car in drive yourself. It's like your boat stops, you do the thing.
I guess some of the automation that we would expect is not built in yet.
It's not built in yet, and I think there are a couple reasons for that, why that was so jarring, and a couple reasons why I think it's going to make sense in the future. Another thing that, because we talked with this about Mod Curse, which we'll get to in a second, the camera is not centered around the player when you're on the boat. The camera is centered around the middle of the boat. So, like, I did the salvaging activity because I thought that was fun. It's essentially like the wood cutting of sailing, where, like, you just go and you AFK salvage at these spots, and, like, you know, there's, I think it's like small salvage versus like sunken salvage. Like, sunken salvage is the equivalent of like a depleted rock or a cut down tree stump or what
And
have you.
they'll respawn.
Yeah, respawn every couple of
I
seconds.
think they respawn in different locations, which is kind of cool.
like around the area,
Mhm.
but it's still like a general area for
Yeah.
salvaging. The salvaging mechanic was neat. I think, like, obviously, it's cool. I always thought that salvaging bit was going to be cool. But when we were talking to Mod Curse and I was doing the salvaging, I kind of said, like, I zoomed all the way in and I said, I don't like that my character is off to the right. I don't like that my character's not in the middle. I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I understand I'm on like the level 2 boat or whatever, but I don't know what this is going to look like when I get on like a warship.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
smaller boats, it didn't affect me as much. I played most of the time on the raft. Like,
Yeah.
I think I had maybe like 2 to 3 minutes left on my timer where I actually had my level 10 boat. On the raft, it doesn't feel that crazy because literally you have your helm and you have your cargo.
It's
and
like
that's
it's like
it.
2 tiles. where
Yeah,
you
it's
can
not
move
that
on the
much.
ship. So it doesn't really feel that giant. But once you get up to that 3-4 tile range of like even the second size up boat, it was strange.
Yeah.
To not be centered in the camera. So I think that didn't help with navigation. But the reason I think it makes sense is, like, when you get on a bigger boat or you're doing something that requires more finesse, right? And you don't have a crew to man it or whatever, you're going to want the specificity to not run across the rope. I kind of explained it like there's a reason in high-level PVM you don't turn auto-retaliate on. Auto-retaliate at the low level is great. You're learning how to play. You don't need to worry about, like, clicking on every boss or doing this or doing whatever or attacking again after you've eaten food. Like, auto-retaliate serves a really nice purpose at the lower level. And being able to automatically drive the ship would serve a great purpose at a lower level. Auto-retaliate will get you killed in chambers, in TOA, in top. Auto-retaliate will 100% get you killed. I imagine that, like, not getting back on the helm of the ship and navigating it as soon as you interact with something could have a similar consequence. So while it felt a little weird, I didn't think it was terrible. And we talked with Mod Curse about all these things for a good, like, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, it
It's
was
why
really
we
cool.
missed the summit. Or the summit Q&A.
Q&A. Yeah.
That's why we missed the summit Q&A. We chatted with Mod Curse for a long time.
Yeah, he was cool. Hopefully we'll have him on the show. It's still up in the air whether or not he's going to want to do it. But I'm thinking once the beta has gone live, we'll reach out to him and see if he's going to be willing to sit down and talk with us, because I think his insights, all of their insight would be great, but his insights into what sailing is, the alpha, his experience over the last like 2 years, it would be really cool for the community to hear that outside of like a modcast. And we could even have like set questions from the community that we want to ask him. Obviously, we're going to talk his ear off about our experience.
Or any JMod
Or
who
any
wants
JMod.
to do it.
Yeah.
Like, we're not exclusive to... At this point, I think Michael and I, especially after going to Runefest and, like, meeting people, and I hate to say the word networking, but, like, in a way, right, like, to me, I view it as like building relationships with people.
That's what networking
Like
is.
but that's the thing. Like corporate Michael is saying that's what networking is. Humanity's Oxie is like, no, we're just fucking building relationships with people. Like that's the difference. It's the same thing though.
Yeah.
It's more or less the exact same thing of what we're doing. So
we're gonna have a lot more guests. Is what I think
here's
he's
to
trying to say.
hoping.
Yeah.
Here's to hoping, because this one we don't care who wants to come on the show. I don't care. Like, there's not a subscriber count. There's not a whatever. If you make content, you want to talk about it, sure. We're open to hearing you out. Sunday was a great time. I think being at Runefest, I think sailing was absolutely the highlight. Sailing was way better than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't a sailing hater, but sailing was way better than I thought. And
You voted for sailing.
I voted for taming.
Oh, you voted for taming.
I wanted taming in that bitch. I think sailing was my second place. What I didn't want was shamanism. Taming and hunter are the opposite skills. I swear to God, it's the total opposite.
You say this all the time.
Why do you go to a pet store? Do you go to a pet store to kill something?
Sometimes.
For what? What do you do?
Buy a rat.
Other than
feed it to your snake.
Okay, but that's feeder food, right? So to have a pet snake, you need to do what to it?
Feed it.
Tame it,
Sure.
dumbass.
Sure, but like okay, so we don't need to get into this. We don't need to get into this. Sailing is going to be great. It's going to be great, and it's happening this
early.
year.
It's early. I'll tell you that it's early. Don't get your hopes up that this is like a perfectly polished whatever. It's still an alpha. What we talked about with Mod Curse and what is very important to us, right, as players who have probably close to 20,000 hours combined in this game, across all game modes, across all accounts. Sailing has to be good foundationally. Sailing has to work foundationally. If sailing is lacking content at first, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
If the core mechanics are good, that's what we want. And Curse agreed. Curse was like, that's exactly what we're going for. And we even told them, we're like, we have had our fair share of critiques of sailing, of like, yippee, another blog where they reiterate the same thing of what they're going to do. Did you know we're going to turtle people? Ha ha ha, can we please see something? And we told them this was very helpful to actually see something. And if the core foundations are good, sailing can be built upon.
It's going to be something to where we're not going to get a fully fledged skill day one, and that's fine. Not every skill is fleshed out and completely perfect from the get-go. It took them many, many, many years to make Hunter feel like it fit in the game, and it wasn't just birdhouses.
Yeah.
You know?
And TMD brought up farming. Farming sucked when
Yeah.
it came out. Like 2005, farming was terrible. And now farming is great. Everybody, I don't know a single person who doesn't like farming. I know people who don't like going on farm runs or herb runs, dailyscape, but I don't know anyone who's like, oh, training farming is the worst. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of room for sailing to improve as far as like the amount of content that it's going to have. But so far, the core of it is built up enough, and they will improve it.
Yeah.
And I'm very optimistic that it's going to go well. That was pretty much all of Sunday.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all of Sunday. It was socializing. It was, hanging out with JMods and content creators and looking at all these little panels and things like that, finishing off the skill chips. Then we had dinner with the boys. We went to Gin Junkie, Doom Bar, and Lorley. Found this like Brazilian steakhouse.
It was good.
It was fantastic. It was an onslaught though. Like once you had your card at green, they were giving you new meat every 2 minutes. It was so good. It was so fun to sit around with everybody because it was from like the right side of the table down to the other. It was Chaos, Robert, Skate, me, Doom, Lorley, Michael, Jin. And it was just a great time. It's one of those like it kind of ended how it began.
Yeah.
Where it's like
that's
just the boys all sitting around sharing beers talking about RuneScape. We were the only ones from RuneFest there. Right? So it wasn't like it was a bunch of other content
It's like a
creators.
30-minute drive.
It was in Birmingham, that's for sure. It was quite the hike. But it was like we drove in Scape's car to get there. we kept teasing him like, yeah, you drive like you have free healthcare. So Sunday night was great. The entire Runefest, the whole weekend was minimal complaints. Like there were a few like nitpicks, I think, but overall, like the event itself, Saturday, Sunday, spectacular. We'll go again. The Monday drive home, the Monday drive home was brutal.
You guys saw a little bit of it.
You saw a little bit of it. We woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, went down for breakfast at 5:30, hopped on the train, got to the train station, hopped on the train for like a 6:30 departure, got the bullet train, which we found out about Avanti. Beans on toast aside, they got some damn good public transit.
They do. They really do.
So we hopped on the train, we get to Houston. From Houston, we go to Green Park, and from Green Park, we take the Piccadilly line all the way to Heathrow Terminal 5. Again, for the Oi Bros who know what I'm talking about. We get to Heathrow, get on board, find our area or whatever. We were in Terminal 5 in the B gates. There was like nothing there. Get on the plane, and we had the most disruptive passenger in the world. If I'm sitting here, Michael's sitting on my left, on this side by the car window, and there was a guy sitting maybe like on the other side of Michael's door, like that far away, who not only talked loudly the entire time, but was like just annoying as shit and like loud and abrasive and swearing a lot and like essentially trauma dumping, you know? Like the way I can describe it in American terms was like, he was out there bitching about all these immigrants taking our jobs, like that type of shit. But like the UK version of that. And he got like misogynistic at one point. He was like talking, this poor girl was like pressed up against a window. In his row. There was a guy in between them, and this poor girl was like pressed up against a window, and he was just like leaning over the one guy to talk to her, like, you remind me of my daughter, but less of a bitch. Like it was not good.
I made eye contact with her like several times, and she just gave me like, help me.
Help eyes.
Help me.
I ended up at one point, because I was sitting next to him, there's an aisle between us. At one point, I was like, hey, no life advice during dinner. Shut the hell up. Right? And
he's not exaggerating.
I actually did turn to him and I said, no life advice during dinner. Like, keep it together, right? Because we obviously ate on a plane. And then, I don't sleep much on planes. I think I got like 2 40-minute increments of half sleep. And then, for like the last hour of the flight, I had heard him go on like a 10-15-minute rant to the same girl about the same thing. But again, getting like more and more aggressively misogynistic.
Loud.
And at one point, I just interrupted and I'm like, hey, when's the last time you talked to your daughter? That started an impromptu free therapy session on this plane where this guy completely turned his attention to me, and what ended, like the first probably 40 minutes was just him yapping, and I was just like making like little quips here and there. And then he got kind of misogynist, like, oh, I love Andrew Tate, oh, I love Donald Trump, but I'm not afraid to say it. And the other, like, I'm like, the women on this plane are going to kill him. It was like, I want to get you out of this situation, not for their safety, for yours. And he was just like wilding. This guy was wilding the whole way home. But afterwards, we ended up meeting up with some of the people who were all like in that general area and like talking about, dude, what the fuck was all that about? We all got each other's Instagram information, so we kind of trauma bonded through the flight home.
Yeah.
Got in the car, drove back. You guys saw a little bit of that. We get to the border, and I told Michael going into it, I said, the worst experience we're going to have with customs is U.S. customs. And I don't think Michael believed me when I said that. Because Canadian customs asked us a dumbass question, like, are you keeping anything in the car? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, is anything staying in the car? I'm like, yeah, like an ice scraper and shit. He's like, okay, so car stuff. I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, move along. Border Patrol in England. Scan the passport. You're good. Cool. Fuck off. Go home. The Canadian border, coming back home, it was scan your passport, fill out this information on Scout's Honor.
Scout's Honor.
Just like honor system your way through the border, and then if you have a receipt, cool. We'll check off the receipt and you're good to go. Get home. U.S. Customs, driving back, we got the most curmudgeon-y guy. He's like, where are you coming from? We're like, Canada. He's like, I've worked at the border for 17 years. I know that's Canada. Where are you coming from? And I was like, we just flew in to Toronto Pearson. We spent the weekend in Birmingham, England, and we've been there since about Friday. He's like, okay, so you're coming from England, not Canada. I'm like, okay, God. Did you acquire anything when you're over there? We're like, I don't know, like merch and things like that. And he's like, okay, so you acquired things. And I'm like, oh my God, I got both windows rolled down. This guy's out of the booth at this point. He's like, what did you acquire? I'm like, well, we got some merch, we got some socks, we got some bags, some shirts. I said one of our buddies from Sheffield came down, gave us some brown sauce or something.
That set him off.
That move, that was bad. That was a bad choice. He's like, what kind of sauce? I'm like, I don't know. I don't live in Sheffield. You have my passport in front of you. I'm not from there. I don't know. And he was like, how long have you known this man for? Do you know him well? And like, we had to give like a detailed account of like, well, we don't really talk to him a ton anymore because he switched to day shift. And again, he lives in England. But there was a period of time we talked to him every single day. We'd have the Sunday reset. We'd spend all night on Sunday with him. Like, we know him fairly well, right? Like, he's met us. You know, we know him fairly well. And he's like, stop the vehicle, take the key out of the car, unlock the door. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. He popped open the trunk and rifled through our bags until he found the sauce. And he said, is this the sauce you're talking about? I said, yes, sir, it is. And he said, all right. And he put the bags back together and he closed it and he walked out front. And he said, next time say it's commercially packaged and it won't be that big of a problem. I'm like, how the fuck was I supposed to know the script for the border?
So he thought that somebody made us like a homemade sauce.
Yeah, he thought it was like a homemade.
Like he doesn't know what's in it. Like, brother.
So, yeah, it was.
If you want to know what kind of sauce it is, ask the question: was it homemade or commercially packaged? If that's your goal, if that's your end goal, ask.
Yeah, and like I understand that with the U.S. border, Michael brought it up that you're like guilty until proven innocent because like you don't really have the time nor the ability or the affordability to like assume people are good because they're coming back in. Like if you're trying to take border security safely, you kind of have to take it seriously, right? But it was just like I told him as soon as we rolled the windows back up and we left, I said, I told you, bitch, I told you the most trouble we would get is coming back into our own country. Coming back into the United States was always going to be the hardest one.
So annoying.
But yeah, we eventually did make it back.
Back on Freedom Grass, though.
Back on Freedom Grass. Had dinner with my mom and sister for a little bit, and then drove home. And we did not get home till about 11:30 p.m., which would have been about 4:30 in the morning UK time. We traveled for damn near 24 straight hours yesterday on Monday to get home, and we're still traveling. Michael's still got more travel to do. We're about 10 minutes away from the airport.
Can't wait to be home.
Because we are about 10 minutes away from the airport, is there anything you wished you would have done differently for Runescape? Runefest.
Yes. For Runefest, literally the only difference, besides like flying directly to Birmingham, we talked about that yesterday.
Lots of things we would change in travel, for sure.
But like, I would just extend the trip one day prior and one day later. That for me would have made all of the weekend and the hype about being in a new country way less of a condensed trip. So I would want to get there on Thursday, have that day to kind of rest and just like casually sightsee, and then Friday or like the day before the event could be like the meetup with friends, hang out kind of day. Then we have our 2 days of Runefest, and then Monday we take that day to rest after the event, and then we get on a plane on Tuesday and come home.
Yeah,
that to me would be absolutely perfect.
I think next time having that, yeah, you're right, having the extra day, and I think like being more efficient with how we travel.
Also, yes.
Like, I think ideally the goal is, because we're going to have the creator wristbands, because what are you guys going to do? You're going to advocate for a podcast category. And then Michael meets me in Detroit. We both fly direct from Detroit to Birmingham. Toronto saved us a shit ton of money. And I'm not terribly opposed to driving home from Toronto again, because the drive wasn't too bad. I'm a Midwesterner. 3 hours ain't nothing, right? Doesn't bother me.
I'm going to fly back from Toronto to Dallas.
I think for you, flying back Toronto to Dallas isn't too bad. But like for me, doesn't bother me. I don't care. I would fly from Pearson. I would fly from BTW. Either way, fine by me. But definitely leaving from Birmingham and not having the added stress of trying to get back to Heathrow
makes a world of difference.
That would have saved us so much, because we would have, like, even if we left early, like, I think Chaos Cleric's flight left at like 11
or 12.
It left at 11 from Amsterdam.
Oh, was it from Amsterdam? Okay,
Yeah,
so they had
it
flight
left at like 8 a.m. from Birmingham.
Oh, gotcha.
Even if we had an early flight from Birmingham, right, to get to Heathrow or Amsterdam or Paris or Berlin or something to connect and then fly back, the convenience of waking up and just going to the airport and having it be right there from where we stayed, a million times easier than trying to take a train back down and then take the tube back to Heathrow and get there on time and all this craziness. Way more comfortable, way easier. Definitely think it's worth it next time. Also, if you guys end up going to Runefest, right? Travel like we did. Travel light. Michael knows now.
Travel very light.
Travel as light as possible. Don't bring a laptop.
Yeah.
Next time, like, we brought laptops like just in case. Bring the laptop. Play on your phone. Play on your iPad. We did not log into RuneScape to actually play once.
I didn't use my laptop for RuneScape at all. Yeah. Like even in the airport and stuff.
I used it in the airport for maybe 2 hours. That's it. We did not do anything. We didn't. The most RuneScape we played was the alpha.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's like you never know what it's going to be like, but you're not in another country, or if you live in the UK, you're not going to a festival to do the things that you would do at home. Yeah. You're there to hang out with your friends, to see creators, to do all the stuff that they have for you there. So I knew I wasn't going to be playing much RuneScape the whole weekend anyway. But like with how jam-packed our schedule was, it wasn't even like we could just like log in after
like
the thing at the hotel.
There wasn't time to like casually send. Like when we did Xpwaste North, I know Michael and I, we got White Castle and we just sent some like shitty raids on our GIMs. There probably was time. By the time we got back, I will say what I think would have been fun. I would have liked to go to the unofficial after party. Yeah, we were just very old and tired, and I did not want to go by myself. And like it was helpful to kind of pack and get a little bit of rest because we were up at 5 a.m. I think had we had that extra day, I drag your sorry asses to the after party.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can just sleep in on Monday.
I drag your sorry asses to the after party because it looked like it was like almost like at an arcade from what I saw.
That'd be fun.
So Messiah, if you're listening, sorry we did not make it out. We are old men. We had to wake up at 5 a.m. the next day, local time, to get on a plane and spend 24 hours on the road to get back to the United States. So I wish we could have done that. But again, it's just a difference in how we would travel. I would take less clothes because, again, my drunk uncle look apparently is acceptable at Runefest.
Way less clothes.
Way less clothes.
I wore the same 2 pairs of jeans. I didn't wear half the stuff that I brought. So like you always have to just try things once and know what the next time is going to look like. So next time I may even just take a duffel bag like you did.
Oh yeah.
But have room for souvenirs. If you're not from the UK and you're going to be flying in, have room for souvenirs because they gave us so much stuff.
The amount of stuff they gave us was crazy.
And we're not even like creators getting stuff. Like
even the next day they had like the wiki team was there giving out free scarves on Sunday. Creator Crafted was there giving out free stickers and stuff like that. Some of our buddies got free desk mats from just like standing around. Like Alex was just like standing around drinking a pint and someone walked up to him and was like, "Hey, do you want a desk mat?" And he's like, "What?" And they gave him a Jad desk mat just for free.
That's so cool.
So like the amount of shit that you get at RuneFest without paying for, it's a pretty substantial amount of stuff. So like I would consider, like, maybe if I could swing the one bag next time, that would be cool. If they give us those same kinds of bags next year.
Yeah.
But
We never know, though.
you never know. I think overall, Runefest was a 12 out of 10 experience.
12 out of 10.
Runefest
Agreed.
was spectacular, and I cannot wait for Runefest next year.
We're going to gush about this for a while, probably. So this won't be the last time you hear about us gush about Runefest, I imagine, because of all the stuff that we talked about. I feel like we've given you an overview. This wasn't like an in-depth, here's our thoughts about this, and this. Like, we've given you kind of just like a speed run of our thoughts. In the coming episodes, they're going to be either releasing things that we talked about at Runefest, or there's going to be more information that comes out. We'll read through all the blogs, make sure there's nothing that we missed. But just be prepared for the next couple episodes to be kind of similar to this.
Maybe.
Or
again,
guests.
it also depends on like what kind of guests we have on the
Yeah.
show too. Makes me very optimistic. I know I was talking with Michael about like RuneScape burnout and then like content creation burnout while we were sitting in London for food. And I think being at this and being around people and having so many people come up to us has very, very much helped the desire to keep making content. I'm not going to talk about the ideas that I've had for making more content because I'm not going to put that out there.
You just have to wait and see.
Because, I don't want it to be like, oh, we talked about doing this, and then never did it.
Sure,
It was
that's what I'm saying.
1 minute
You have to
guides,
wait and see.
You know? So if there's time, I would love to. But we'll see. But speaking of, we are actually at the airport right now. Do you have any final thoughts on Runefest?
That's it.
Well, folks, with that, we're going to let you guys go because Michael's pulling up to the airport. And I got to give him a big old hug goodbye. Goodbye. And then, we will see you guys next week for we don't even know what, because I gotta love with you. It's Tuesday at 1 p.m. We don't know what we're planning next week yet.
We're gonna recover.
We're gonna recover. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna recover, and we're gonna let you guys know. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.